Greetings, everyone, and Happy New Year. I bet you're surprised to see us live already, aren't you? But as I always say, it's a new year and new opportunities. So let's try to spend those opportunities getting here on time. Isn't that right, Anibal A. Morales Sanchez? Which is why we made sure that we were going to be live exactly when we did. But I am, of course, not completely alone. I'm also joined by Script Doctor. Greetings, how are you?
I am well. Greetings and Happy New Year, sir.
Likewise, Happy New Year. I'm so glad you could be here with me. Also joining us is our good friend, Cultured Casino. How's it going?
Fantastic. Good morning. Happy New Year to each and every one of you. Thanks for hanging out with us this morning. I'm pretty excited. This is one of those subjects I love to talk about, so I'm excited.
Absolutely. I'm so glad to have you here because we have recently learned that things aren't going too great for Star Wars, the Galactic StarCruiser, or whatever the hell that overpriced hotel thing was called. And we'll get into that before long here. Now, to those wondering, Tom is going to be here before long, I guess, but we decided to try to start early today. So Tom will join when he will be joining. And also joining us, we have quite a decent crowd. We have more than 200 watching already this early in 2022. That's awesome. Everyone, smash that like and help share the stream. And then I would like to say Happy New Year to each and every one of you, especially to Natasha, our ever loyal wrench, who has been here doing an amazing job for all of us. Xenomorph said, I hope Tom got some sleep. He did get some, but not too much. I saw to that. There will be a video later on. And Super SJ2 wonders why KK looks like Blue Man Group. I believe we have a term for that. Self-insertion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, we'll get into that. We're also joined by David Finn is here. Neil is here. Hey, Neil. And Happy New Year to all of you. We have KRNUT is here, and HyperGyver2 even sent us a super chat for $5 saying, so before we take our daily dose of dismal Disney and crap all over the DCU, can we take the time to gush over how good Cobra Kai Season 4 was? I've only seen the first episode of it so far, and huge fan of that episode. How about you guys? Have you seen Cobra Kai yet?
Yeah, I managed to complete it, and I was quite entertained. I really dug it. It was better than the third season, and a couple of new characters introduced that I really enjoyed, and liked the approach to it. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're joined by Tom. Welcome, Tom, and Happy New Year. We are live early for the first time. Not for the first time, but certainly for the first time this year and for the first time in a long time. So there's that.
If I had known we had so much company, I would have just stayed in bed.
Yeah, there were already concerned about whether or not you had enough sleep, but yeah, we have a full panel at least for the time being. Cultured only has got so long with us before he has to leave. I'm just going to go and check if there are any more super chats we need to get through, because then I think we can get into the first main topic here relatively quickly, since it is one that is so near and dear to Cultured in particular, being a Disney park and everything like that. Before then, UNSC forward don't to dawn. I can't even read that. It says for £5. What are you guys' thoughts on episode 1 of Boba Fett? I thought it was pretty good. Now, I regrettably haven't had time to see it yet myself. I'll amend that as quickly as possible. We know that Tom was not a huge fan of it. But Culture and Script, what did you guys think?
Script.
Yeah, beautiful production design, but I was not a fan yet. Unfortunately, because I do like a couple of the creators who were working on this, but no, I was not not into my liking, unfortunately. But I'm glad that you enjoyed it. You and SC forward onto Dawn.
Let's see.
Oh yeah, forward onto Dawn. That's what it says. Of course.
Yeah. No worries.
Yeah. I have this weird thing where I want to poke so many different holes in this. It's very easy to poke holes in the episode. That's the problem. I mean, it's easier to poke holes in this episode than it was for him to escape from the Sarlacc pit. So I don't know. It's beautiful.
That's not as hard as you'd think, according to the show.
No, I watched, yeah. But it's just like script. There are some people. It's a very talented people working on this, and I think the excuse that I've given on more than one show that I've talked about this on is that he's really in a box. I mean, I think I talked with Polly about this. I've talked with a few people. Robert Rodriguez is in a box. He's in multiple boxes. He has to tell a specific story inside of like multiple frameworks now, instead of having as much liberty as I think that he would have. Now I'm waiting to be proved wrong in episode 2. I don't think I am. There were so many different holes in this. I can't really talk about I can't really talk about it without extensive spoilers, but I mean the fight scenes have enormous issues. There's issues abound everywhere, including just the character Boba Fett as who he is. So very strange indeed. Let's just put it that way.
All right. Yeah, I'm sure we can get around to more details on that later. Then we also have Emperor Soft Turtle, who says, I'm going to be honest. Neither Snyderverse nor DCU is the path forward. I think they should just throw it all in the trash. Well, they're kind of doing that if they really go for the DC AU. Before we get into that, Brett Cohen also says, Happy New Year, Midnighters. May it be safe and prosperous for you and your loved ones. Oh, well, thank you. And the same to you and to every single one out there. And also, Brightest Day says, #give Tom a break. Yeah, Tom can... Well, you did have a break, didn't you, Tom? I believe it was called Christmas Day.
I still worked on Christmas Day.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Well, maybe next year.
I had a day off, and I don't remember since when.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, well, to quote Blackadder, who's like one of the best bosses there is, well, Blackadder the Third, actually, you can have the day off when you die. So,
pretty much it. I'm going to have a Ferris Bueller's day off is what will happen. You just won't get a hold of me for like 20 to 48 hours.
Wow.
Well, speaking of...
Then I'll wake up in a ditch somewhere.
Speaking of busy days, Ghost of Speedy Wonder's been missing you on Friday Night Tidestorm. When are you back on?
Good question. Just let them know you missed me in the chat.
Yeah. And then we have more DC questions and everything. We'll get into that afterwards. But for right now, while we have culture, let's get into the Star Wars bit of news. Now, Tom, if you check the private chat, there's a link there so we can bring up the story.
Goody.
And then maybe culture can take us through it with the most recent success story from Star Wars, the Galactic Star Hotel.
Yeah, let's do it. I can read through this if you'd like.
Let's go for it.
Okay, as Backlash continues...
I'll fall asleep if I try.
All right. Well, as Backlash continues, reservations down 50% for Disney's Star Wars Hotel. This is from Inside the Magic. They do some... now they're starting to do a little more balanced reporting when it comes to Disney, which is weird, by the way. They are what we refer to in the Disney fandom as pixie dusters. But I've got an unsure feeling about this. For many Star Wars fans, the Disney guests, the excitement for Walt Disney World's new Star Wars Galactic StarCruiser quickly dissipated after the initial commercial for the resort was shared by Disney. The commercial received such intense backlash that many reservations were dropped. Disney eventually wiped the video from the internet themselves, potentially due to the damage it had done to the reputation of the new resort. Now, reservations are seemingly at an all-time low for Star Wars Galactic StarCruiser, leaving many worried about what the future will look like. We recently noticed on Disney's official website for the Galactic StarCruiser Resort that reservations are way more available than they were previously before the commercial released. Well, you and everybody else, guys. Reservation for Star Wars Galactic StarCruiser used to be booked solid for the foreseeable future, but as seen in the screenshot above, and that's just about halfway down the article, reservations are now booked at less than half capacity for the upcoming months of both April and May. While many guests are still excited for what's to come when the resort officially opens this March, many are wondering if the resort has already failed. July and August are both wide open in terms of reservations, with August being completely empty. It is important to note that many are only judging Star Wars Galactic StarCruiser based on the video Disney posted, and the resort overall could be incredibly immersive and a fun experience when it officially opens. Star Wars Galactic StarCruiser is part of the overall Star Wars expansion at Disney's Hollywood Studios, which started with Star Wars Galaxy Edge. Here on the planet Batuu, guests can live out all of their Star Wars fantasies and interact with...
Wait. They called this place Batuu?
Batuu. B-A-T...
No. It's Batuu.
Okay, well, very good. I like your characterization there, Tom, but yeah, Batuu. Guests can live out...
If they had any sense of history, they would have called it Et2. But
wow.
Well, not only that, if it's not but to, it's bought to. So either way, they're showing their ass.
Well, they are. Bought to is also, that would actually be more accurate considering you pay for everything there.
That's what I mean. They're not even hiding the shit.
Yeah. Guests can live out all of their Star Wars fantasies.
The bar's name is Rob Your Wallet.
Yeah, it might be. It's very much similar to that. And interactive with iconic characters like Rey, Kylo Ren, and a whole lot of First Order stormtroopers.
Yeah, how iconic. The icon that is Rey. I just had to comment on that.
Where's but one? Oh my goodness.
That's what I'm talking about. Annabelle gets what I'm after. Or wait, that came out wrong.
Oh my goodness.
Where's my phrasing button when I need it?
You need it. Guests can also experience 2 state-of-the-art attractions like Star Wars Rise of the Resistance and the Millennium Falcon.
Is state-of-the-art in quotations?
No, it's highlighted with a little clicky-do. Like you could clicky on it. What do you call it? A hyperlink, yes. And the Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run. So there you go. That's it for the story. Everything
that's
else
it. That's what you get to do for $6,000.
For $6,000, Tom.
You have more fun at the Bunny Ranch with $6,000.
I can't argue that. But what I can say is this. This thing was destined to have issues regardless.
Hey, I can do my own Star Wars at the Bunny Ranch for $6,000.
Well, we know you can, but meanwhile, let us hear Culture's take on these news because you follow this, and it's easy to laugh and pick apart, but I want to hear your analysis, having followed this.
Well, first of all, Tom's not wrong. The price is exorbitant for less than 48 hours of actual experience. You already have pre-scripted periods of time where you're going to get a random story event. As far as I'm be led to believe by people that would know, there's only 2 different stories that you can currently be interacted with currently. This is not really the choose your own adventure kind of thing that you would want it to be, and they're further limiting your enjoyment by not allowing you to, take pictures or video of your vacation while you're in it. At least reportedly, that's the situation now. I imagine a lot of that is because they've limited the amount of story events that could happen, that's probably why that exists. But at the same time, this was destined to be a problem from the very beginning, because once they changed the focus of the overall land to Batuu, and not bot 1 or whatever Tom was trying to get us to focus on there.
That's all I can think of now.
Yeah, I know. Me too. Stuck in my head. But yeah, hashtag me too. But instead of focusing on what that Galaxy's Edge was supposed to be, which was, you know, something that was familiar to everybody, it was supposed to be Tatooine and Hoth and, you know, the Endor moon, right? It was supposed to be essentially sets that you could actually live out a traditional Star Wars story in. They focused on the sequel trilogy, which, again, you have divided off your fans into a much smaller segment of society. They've also overestimated how many people who are uber wealthy are going to be interested in experiencing, you know, the Star Wars in this way. Some of the interactive elements from the original concepts were removed, just like with the land itself. And this Star Wars hotel, you know, it's becoming less and less intriguing. Even the events that you can do on the starship, such as accidentally, you know, finding yourself in the midst of a ship to ship battle on this StarCruiser, you're going to get lightsaber training. Well, lightsaber training is nothing more than, you know, touching a lightsaber to a flashlight beam. You know, in that particular experience. These experiences are, again, a part of a heavily regimented schedule that seems to be the way that Disney's gone, you know, as far as, you know, vacation planning now, which they've done with all of their parks, to the extent that you can no longer have a very nonchalant pursuit of a day. Pretty much every moment of your day is going to be scripted now, including your meals and everything else. So there's a lot here for people to be turned off by. And with the reservations being down after their own promotional material being released, that says an awful lot. I mean, it landed very flat. That promotional video really did. And it's the first time I can remember Disney pulling anything down. I don't think they've ever done it before. Not off of YouTube, of their own marketing.
Oh, they've definitely pulled down the pants of Star Wars and, well, had its way with it. Kind of like Superman in prison.
That's yeah. Gosh, I don't really want to talk about that, but
we'll get into all things DC afterwards here.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That was not.
You saw our video yesterday, so
yeah, that was not comfortable. Yeah, I imagine. But anyway, but look,
that's
the backlash.
What he said.
Yeah, exactly. The backlash continues is proper. I mean, their title here is perfect. 50% of the reservations or more. And don't let them fool you. And this is the thing I think everybody needs to understand. The first 2 weeks of this hotel are going to be essentially focused on the pixie dusters that are going to be relied upon to promote this. So all of the quote unquote influencers out there.
That's what Jay Drunk 3P was saying too, is like the first month or two was made up of mostly YouTubers and shit.
Yeah. March is heavily influencer oriented, you know, and Disney's been doing this for a while now. They've been trying to virally market through many of these individual content creators or influencers, whatever you want to call them. And but that's been going on for 7-8 years now. I mean, they really heavily leaned into that form of marketing. And while initially it paid some dividends, at the same time, it's compromised a lot of these entities, including Inside the Magic, who wrote this story. That's why when they write something like this, it's surprising. Although this didn't have, you know, quite the negative slant that it could have, you know, this is not overwhelmingly favorable when it comes to, you know, portraying Disney in this new hotel. Very wishy-washy on their part, but definitely not the pro pixie dust that they have been for a long time. And that's what Disney expects. If you want to be a part of press, and I'm sure Jay's said this many times. I know he has. I've hung around with Jay a lot. You have to be very pro Disney in order to get media passes with them. You can't be, you know, you can't have too many negative things, you know, in that you've said about them in order to maintain that status, you know, to be invited to events. And believe me, that's the thing that all these people live on, is getting invited to these special events so that they can, you know, they can experience them first, they can get hits on their channel and all of that. But part of that coverage is expected to be 100% positive. Happy Gilmore. Yeah, what a piece of junk. Very accurate. But no, it's just, this is very dumbed down experience. The accommodations don't appear to be all that different than their actual terrestrial cruise lines that they have here in the United States. So when you get on the Disney Magic, the Wonder, the Wish, whatever, when you get a basic cabin, it's what you're going to get is basically the same experience of the ship. And while that's kind of the concept here, it doesn't even seem like there's a lot of, appeal in that. And I had somebody explain it the other day. It's like if somebody like put together like an idea with like Fifth Element and Star Trek. That's what this seems to be rather than Star Wars, as far as the visuals and everything, the set design and all that. So anyway, that's my initial impressions, but the hotel for the price is exorbitantly overpriced. And again, I mean, you're essentially paying for a couple of events per day on the ship.
You can't even really call it LARPing because it's all scripted and you can't really do anything that's out of the boundaries of the deal.
And they kind of, for those of you that would remember back into the days of Pleasure Island, which was a location that was at Walt Disney World, which is now Disney Springs. Pleasure Island. Yeah. It was based on. I
only heard the name, and I think doesn't sound very Disney appropriate. But anyway, that's just me thinking.
It's in Pinocchio. It's in the second Disney movie.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. Guess what happens when you go to Pleasure Island?
Yeah, I see.
Lots of debauchery.
Turn into an ass.
Yeah, well, and let me tell you, people did every night. The theme there eventually became, a countdown towards New Year's every single night. So you celebrated New Year's every single night with confetti machines and pyrotechnics, and of course, all of that area was restaurants and clubs at that period of time. And there was one.
Why is it when Pinocchio turned into a donkey, his ears and tail weren't wooden too?
I don't know. That's strange.
Script, you got an answer for this?
No idea, but I guess it might be an allegory to the fact that his desire to become a real boy, but instead he's become a real ass.
Thank you. Go ahead, Culture. My bad. I had to have that answered.
No, that's fine. And the last thing I'm going to say is there was a club specifically in that area, and then why I bring it up, called the Adventurers Club. And they've kind of carefully kept that alive-ish through various means, kind of incorporating some of the backstory of the Jungle Cruise and incorporating some other elements as there. But anyway, the Adventurers Club was really this cool dinner theater that sold drinks and a little bit of food, but they had a like a wandering cast that was very good at improv that would interact with you in character as the characters that they would portray in the a couple 3 or 4 shows that it would be produced on the actual in the stage area 3-4 times a night. It was a lot of fun. But that was kind of the concept they were shooting for here, combined with an early Blue Sky concept of actually having a Twilight Zone hotel theme when they were doing the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror attraction. So they've been working on this concept in their minds for a long time, but this is going to be at least based on what we've heard so far and what I've been told, this is not going to be received well, especially by the people paying this kind of money. So anyway, those are my thoughts. And of course the article. So
I know what I think. I think that the moment that trailer came out, the people that had reserved already, they obviously had the money for it.
Mm-hmm.
But then they saw how shit it really was, and they might have forgotten that they reserved and decided, oh yeah, I'm not going to go for that. So because it was the moment that people were alerted to, this is coming up soon.
Mm-hmm.
That's the moment they started canceling it. And what a lasting legacy and final gift of Bob Iger, who is now out of Disney. Today is the first working day where Disney is completely free of Bob Iger. And this whole thing, that was something that he okayed on Kathleen Kennedy's reservation. Of course, she's still there, but now Bob Chapek is stuck with it. And the parks, from what I understand, are far from his weak point. So what do you think is, or far from his strong point?
Strong point, yeah.
I mean, if anything, that's his particular weak point.
It was, and it's kind of ironic because again they put a retail-minded person in charge of the theme parks, so they turned essentially the theme parks into stores and took away from the elements that made the parks successful. Instead of including the immersion that you want in those experiences and all the various levels of kinetics and sound and everything else that is required, he greenlit several projects that essentially have removed the immersiveness of certain areas and have much to the detriment of the theme park experience for guests. Guests are not happy with a lot of these things, and those are the people that are driving the bus to get him removed as quickly as possible, which is strange, because he's probably one of the folks that will focus very much on this studio side being more successful, because he's going to demand some accountability because he's such a bean counter. Yeah, he's not thought of well in the theme park community. He's thought of as everybody knows his nickname's Cheapskate. So, but there you go. He's again. I don't think it bodes well for him. And here's the interesting thing. I just looked at the dates for the Galactic StarCruiser again and found that you can get the last weekend, midweek dates in March are back available again. You can go on the 29th through the 30th, or you can go on the 30th, the 31st, obviously into the 1st of April. So, and then of course that'll be a real April Fool's if you go that day. But I don't know. I'm thinking the initial feedback from this, outside of the the main push from the influencers, is going to be overly effusive and positive. And I think that once the real people get in there, you're going to get a true picture of this, and this will probably even drive down interest in this as well. But the fact that you can't even take your own pictures and video, that's a problem. And I mean, who goes to Disney?
Because they don't want anybody else seeing how bad this shit is.
Yeah, honestly, they need it perfectly staged and lit and everything, so that you can't see that everything is held together with. Well,
not just that, they don't want you showing your friends and family how shitty it is.
Exactly.
Yeah, but this was something I looked forward to initially when it was announced, and it had always been considered part of this area, or a location there, at some point. There was another concept space hotel that was going to be installed at a different location. But it's, I think that got put on hold as well. I think there's going to be a lot of things on hold for Disney for a while, because again, their parks, products, and experiences is just getting beaten up pretty badly. I mean, if you want to dive further into it, their cruise line, their actual terrestrial cruise line, is essentially dead in the water until the CDC changes their threat level for cruises. So,
well, when you're in the middle of a situation like this, a cruise is just basically a floating petri dish.
It is, but it always is. And that's the thing most people don't realize. You've always been on a floating petri dish, because there's something called a norovirus that goes around almost every single cruise expedition you've ever been on. So
that's actually funny. I remember
is it as bad as Flu-Rona?
It's certainly more disgusting.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because there was a cruise ship that had to dock emergency in Norway a couple of years back, because they had an outbreak of norovirus, and the entire ship was not sanitary. Good. Let's put it that way. Afterwards,
no,
it was not good. I think that we're not doctors or anything, but of the two, one is certainly more disgusting than the other.
Flu-Rona.
I've been on, just FYI, I've been on a cruise, or multiple cruises with norovirus, minor outbreaks, so quote unquote.
Well, no, I'm not a doctor either, but it's first they come up with, the moron con, and they're like, well, that ain't working. What do we do? Let's combine to Flu-Rona. That'll scare them.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. The way that was reported the other day, I think that was intent to disarm some future garbage, but... Look, I'm just, as far as it comes to this, I think a lot of people aren't going to be interested because of the marketing and because of what's coming out. I mean, Jay is over at, Park Hoppin'. has been doing some great reporting on this, on top of the things that I have already heard myself.
If Boba Fett is any indication to how popular Star Wars is right now, not boding very well.
Yeah, I haven't looked at the numbers. Have you seen anything from Samba or anywhere?
No, but I didn't hear exact numbers, but I heard it was not doing very well.
Yeah, of course, there are no exact numbers. What there are you have like secondary sources that make estimates based on other factors.
Right. Yeah.
And they are not good. Like it's what you, under other circumstances, were it not the streaming thing, where all like the cost goes to like the whole Disney Plus pot. Were it not for that, it's something that would have been called a flop.
Well, it was kind of like The Mandalorian. I mean, it was popular, yes, but it was not nearly as popular as a big hit TV show, right? Like, because that's kind of what I kept pointing out was like, Baby Yoda's big, but ask 4 out of 5 kids who are wearing a Baby Yoda t-shirt if they've actually watched the show, and most of them will say no.
The bill payer in the family was the one that
and not even in that case. Sometimes the mom will just be like, "Oh no, they just think Baby Yoda's cute."
Yeah, I like you said. I mean, we in the future, in the near future, Nielsen 1 is going to come out, and a couple other key demographic trackers and time trackers that will allow us to have a little bit more clarity or insight into these numbers. But you're right, the transparency doesn't exist, and that's why you have Samba TV trying to get out some data. You have Parrot Analytics doing a very poor job with their model. You haven't heard a lot about them recently, have you?
No, Star Trek hasn't had much use of them recently, and they were kind of like their biggest client.
Which is funny because now that we left the show, Andre, I've heard it's gotten batshit crazy.
Is that a good
thing? Like, you could actually be having some fun with it for once.
I don't know about
first.
Yeah, at this point, you might as well just throw everything out the window and just be like, "Fuck it." It's like the
okay. Room. So, Tom, you're volunteering to watch Star Trek Discovery?
No, but I do have CBS All Access for South Park.
You mean Paramount Plus?
Well, whatever the fuck it's called anymore.
But before we lose track of the different star-themed franchises,
there you go.
Heading back to Star Wars to finish that off. Then, so culture, you're clearly not too optimistic about the future for the Star Wars Hotel, the Galactic StarCruiser. What do you think realistically might happen to it?
I think that it'll get reworked eventually, probably after it's deemed a complete failure. Maybe a year to 18 months out, it'll get reworked as just kind of a regular hotel experience that you can do.
Why would they wait that long?
Elements.
Because Iger is out, Kathleen Kennedy is still there, but Bob Chapek is running the show. He has no skin in it. He had nothing to do with this thing. Can't he do it like earlier? I mean, what's it to him if everyone sees it as a failure? That, if anything, he'll be seen as decisive if he mandates action be taken before.
Disney's history has always been, when it comes to things that were eventually deemed a failure, to drag their feet. They always drag their feet on implementing a new solution, and they always work really hard in the background at making sure that the next thing that comes out doesn't fail. They've done that with parades, shows, theme park attractions that have had some minor reworks here and there. They absolutely want something that will at least pay for itself over the course of a decade or so. So they will drag their feet for a what I guess they would think was a better solution. I'm just based on their previous track record, and it doesn't matter who was at the helm, whether it be Eisner, Iger, even before that, with Miller and everybody else that's been involved. They drag their feet when it comes to coming up with something new. But it could be faster than that, but I wouldn't expect anything faster than a year to fix this.
And I mean, I see some people in the chat who are like, "But I thought Mandalorian was a hit." It was a hit. But you guys got to remember, like Netflix has like twice the subscriber base as Disney Plus. So shows like Stranger Things and stuff like that are way bigger than The Mandalorian. Like I think last year when they did this last year, I seen the top 10 list or whatever. Mandalorian didn't even get into the top 5, I think it was. Stuff like Squid Games, Stranger Things, those are like bigger shows, really, in the end.
Yeah, they are. Like they become phenomenons, whereas Disney Plus,
even Cobra Kai, I think, beat out Mandalorian last fall.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I know it jumped to number 1 this week.
Disney Plus is, although it's like one of the contenders in the streaming market, it's not the king of the hill. Certainly not around the world. So just things being Disney Plus exclusive, it's a double-edged sword there. On one hand, it's good because it's going to help Disney Plus to grow. But at the same time, it's going to hinder the very growth and the franchises and brands on it because they'll be hidden by a paywall, which is going to prevent a lot of people from going there no matter what. Like there's an upper limit to how many people will be joining Disney Plus in any event. And you're already starting to reach that limit in the States.
Well, we're starting to see churn, as Culture Casino and I generally talk about on Tuesday afternoons.
Yeah, and that churn rate is going to continue to tick up for them going into the next year when the 3-year deal people start to have their deals expire in August of. So Disney did their best to pre-sell this for 2-3 years up front. But as year 3 comes to a close in August, their churn rate will tick up yet again. And that we've already seen it. I mean, one of the reasons they haven't been able to grow as quickly domestically and internationally, or to regrow subscribers, is because that churn rate started to tick up. And that's why those numbers were reported so low. I don't expect those numbers to have ticked up at all this quarter, although they might because of the Book of Boba Fett. But if that disappoints the following quarter, people aren't going to re-up their stuff to see another, middling Disney Plus, or they call it Disney minus now.
Well,
Disney
I think the big test is going to be
show.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah, and I don't think that's going to generate.
I really think that we'll see how bad this has been damaged by that. Yeah. If that fails to bring people to Disney Plus, then they've got nothing. What else have they got at this point?
Yeah, well, not a lot. And the other problem is that there are 2 metrics that they truly sold this service on, which was obviously, subscriber growth and ARPU. And their ARPU, just like Netflix and HBO Max and all of that, is highly dependent on the most people paying the highest price possible for the service. But they're going into international markets now that are going to artificially drive down, or maybe not even artificially, but they will practically drive down the ARPU, which is the average revenue per user or subscriber in this case. And those numbers have started to really, really affect the bottom line. And just how many people at 70 cents is required to replace somebody that's giving you an ARPU of $4. I mean, that's a lot of people. You've got to replace multiple people per one. You need 5 to 1, 6 to 1 in some cases, more than that. The most profitable ARPU was HBO Max, and they're merging with the other most profitable ARPU, which is Discovery. So I don't know.
And they've actually got some newer stuff on the horizon, as opposed to like Disney. They don't have, like, what do they got for Marvel shows coming up? Anything decent? No.
Well, She-Hulk, Moon Knight.
Yeah, let's not dismiss Moon Knight just yet. But outside of that, their offering going forward on Disney Plus is very diverse.
You just got to prove to me first that Moon Knight is more than Ghost Batman. First of all, then maybe. But
yeah,
no, he's got multiple personalities.
That's what I mean. He's Ghost Batman.
But as I was saying, so yeah, on Disney Plus, what you have there is you have like the promised link to the movies, but beyond that,
I think Brian hit the nail on the head. Inclusive. Right here is their biggest problem. They have nothing on Disney Plus for adults. Period.
I've said that so many times now. I mean, they really did not set this service up with a good way to delineate between adult material and kids material. And you would think with their catalog, I mean, you have Touchstone and Hollywood Pictures and all of their, and then
We
of
need
course,
Son-in-Law the
acquisition of
series.
Fox.
What the fuck?
Yeah, well, you need stuff that's oriented towards adults.
Come on,
right?
Hear me out here. Pauly Shore's getting a son-in-law.
Yeah,
writes itself.
Lane Smith has passed away, unfortunately. So yeah,
I know.
I don't want to see Pauly Shore.
I know. I'm kidding. I'm fucking kidding, Culture.
I know.
But my point is, well, no, you're not wrong. My point is, though, is that they created the situation for themselves, relying on the fact that they were acquiring the majority and the outright leadership of Hulu, thinking that they could get to audiences. And now they are forcibly getting to audiences. They're going to artificially increase, a subscriber count for these platforms that nobody's really watching by combining and bundling these services together. And that only is going to fool the investors for so long. And believe me, retail investors are becoming a lot more savvy when it comes to these Hollywood, stocks. So the entertainment stocks, I see some down news for some of these organizations. I really do. This next couple of quarters could be really rough for them. So we'll see. But
yeah, it will be interesting to pay attention. Now, before we move on to the next topic, and I know you only have a limited time, Culture, Script, anything you want to add to the Disney Plus and Disney Galactic StarCruiser experience?
Well, me as a potential customer, I'm not attracted to theme parks or cruise ships. I think it's kind of like basically a tourist trap. There's other things in Florida and in California to see besides an artificial world. Although I do understand the entertainment value for the children. And for cruises themselves, it seems kind of antithetical to put kind of like a spaceship setting on a boat cruise, because if you go outside, like on the main deck, it's clearly Earth. You're not getting any additional experience up there, and you don't really want to spend the majority of your time inside a cruise ship. The concept of going on a boat is to see vistas that you haven't normally seen before on mainland.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it was a big mistake to even incorporate this. I remember a few years ago where the cruise industry was kind of struggling greatly, and they had to start claiming their boats were owned by other countries so that they could evade certain domestic taxes. So yeah, I thought this was a big fail. If Chapek is in charge, I hope he gets a new team involved to make this a bit more of a less expensive and more accessible product for them. But outside of that, I'm not going to be interested in those types of things personally. I'm sorry. It's just if I'm going to go travel, I look usually for local stuff, not parks.
Yeah,
I can see that. We also have a couple of super chats pertaining to this topic. Matthew, so for everyone that has sent super chats, we're doing them now a little bit out of order. I'm just grabbing the Star Wars ones right now. Just got back from Walt Disney World. It was packed over the holiday. They have no excuse for Star Wars Hotel to be empty. No one cares about the beer bug down there.
It's true. That's true. It is packed every holiday season. This is true. Disney World had the strictest, mask requirements and everything else up until right about Christmas Eve. And then Orlando joined them in requiring masks indoors. They had terminated that policy, prior to that. As far as the fear level, it's much lower in Florida and other states right now, and it has been for a while. But yeah, that's a good point. There is zero reason for, that hotel not to be as jam-packed as every other hotel on the Disney property. Right now, Disney is, and this is probably well known at this point, I'm sure Jay talks about it as well, but they are not even open. All their hotels are not open to capacity. They can't employ enough mousekeeping, the housekeeping staff, to get everything open up in all of their hotels and or their DVC resorts. So they're struggling with that. They're struggling with staffing more than anything else. And this is actually an employment problem they created for themselves. So
And Tom, you have to say the name.
Rod Thunderheart.
And he says, "Hail, Andre, Tom, Script Doctor, Culture Casino. My personal favorite was how Clownfish TV called her Captain Karen."
Yeah.
And yeah, before we move on, what's with this blatant self-insert of Kathleen Kennedy as the Blue Man Group? You see it in the thumbnail picture.
Yeah,
Do you think that attracted many more audiences to the hotel?
Overall, I think their marketing was terrible. Script probably has a better, like concept of the aesthetics of it all and the reasoning behind it, but there'll be something better to say than I do. But I'm going to say that that was a complete turn. I have not seen any positive marketing here that would intrigue me. Again, it was almost like a shot for shot part of like during that video, the video that they took down of the lady that was singing, that I'm like, wow, this is a ripoff of Fifth Element.
She has a self-insert in every goddamn thing she does.
She does. And the minute that you're tying High Republic and the sequel trilogy to Star Wars, you're already creating massive divides in who's going to be interested in something and who's not. So
I'd go, Chris, and I'd be the one to be most honest about it, but I'd go kicking and screaming. And
Chris,
I would really trash it.
Chris, I could have gone. Greg, I could have gone to this thing.
Yeah, for those.
No, but he's saying he wants like someone like me or Ryan to go, who's literally just going to tell the truth about it.
All right.
But Chris, for those that are just listening, we just had a highlighted chat from our good friend Chris Gore, who demanded that one of us, that means one of you, actually go there to report back.
I guess I could twist.
Xenomorph's got a point here.
At least
I could actually possibly get some sleep.
I don't know.
This is a 2-day thing.
Yeah, this is true. There's scheduled sleep breaks in there. I don't give you that.
This is fucking true.
Chris, send us a $6,000 super chat and then we can go.
Dang.
If I accidentally go to Vegas, it's not my fault.
And look, well,
yeah,
okay,
I mean, we can do that if everyone wants Tom to go.
Like, hey, I take it, I'll go too.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Like, if we can have like donations enough for we can send Tom there. But there's no guarantee that he might not take a wrong turn and end up in Vegas. But
that's what I'm saying. I can't guarantee.
Yeah, he took a left at Albuquerque, went to Vegas.
Yeah, exactly. Wrong turn at Albuquerque. No, that means you'd actually have to make me sign something that legally binds me to go.
Yeah, someone's gonna set up a GoFundMe. Send Tom to the Galactic Cruise for a weekend.
And I need Yellow Flash and Chris Gore for emotional support.
Wow.
Well, of course, Culture can come too.
Yeah, anybody can go. Let's book one whole week and really fuck with them.
Of course, I'll come as well, but then you have to get me across the Atlantic. That's going to cost more.
That's a lot of money. Look, for two people to go. I mean, let's just go with the cheapest possible scenario, right? 2 people going. It's going to be $4,800 during most weeknights, starting in on 8/20. So
August.
Yeah, August 20th would be the cheapest time to go. Although, if I'm offered a deal to go, or somebody does something that, like I said, I had an offer to go already. So if that comes up again, I might consider it. And like I said, I mean, I would definitely be taking a bullet here because I have no interest in it. And I used to. I was very excited for this, but I have no interest now. Yeah, better up that price as Yellow Flash. Absolutely.
He's not sharing it. I don't blame him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Chris Gore has a prediction. They will adjust experience to include an option for a dinner show that will be affordable in the under $500 range. Kind of like medieval times for Star Wars. You're probably not wrong.
I think,
Lord. Here we go.
For the Tom Cruiser fund. There you go. Yeah. But here's the thing. Chris, I don't think that. I think they'll have to retool it as a regular hotel experience that you can add on.
Thank you, Kit Kat, by the way.
You can add on those experiences like the dinner theater you're talking about, like the lightsaber experience, which God, they need to upgrade that. Like the bridge experience, those could be separate.
Somebody said you could basically have a better experience at home on your Oculus Rift or your Sony VR.
Yeah. I mean, some of the stuff they did very early on with the Vive. You actually land on a Star Wars planet. I think it's Tatooine, and you have an encounter, a lightsaber fight with Vader and stormtroopers. Yeah.
So you're actually going to have a lightsaber fight with, that's going to go well.
Well, yeah. Well,
that's going to be so immersive.
Oh, Jay's got
pictures. Jay's got pictures.
Hey, Jay, we'll send you a link.
I'm saying, if you can't jump on, at least send me the pictures, maybe, if you want.
You know what? We don't even have to really get money for this. All we have to do is build 2 First Order Stormtrooper costumes, and then you just kind of sneak in, kind of like Luke and Han did on the Death Star, and I think you'd be okay as long as you don't take off the helmet.
It's not going to work. That's what I said before.
Well, you don't know it until you try it, so don't knock it till then. Also, Rob Thunderheart says for another $2 Canadian, Captain Karen looks suspiciously like Kathleen Kennedy. Yeah, funny how that works.
Wait, her name was Karen for reals? Or is that just like...
but it is weird. It's very similar to that, like Captain Keenan or Captain something weird.
Captain Kangaroo?
No, I don't know. What flip? Let me find.
Hey, we got Keith from Pop Culture Minefield.
Hey, Keith. I mean, how's it going? Happy New Year.
Yeah. People would send me to. Speaking of like starting a fund, STR Red Wolf sends in $5 and says, "Why donate to a Disney trip? This goes for Tom's replacement computer fund." I was actually looking at computers.
That's actually money much better spent.
I was actually looking again yesterday. So
Captain Kevin. In other words, Captain Karen, Captain Kevin.
Is that what it is?
Like Captain Kevin.
Yeah. Riola Kevin, I think.
And then Kit Kat sent in 5 for the cruiser fund. Thank you for that. I'm going to go at these backwards. Sorry, guys. C-Man says, I think he's trying to say, if you guys could do a video on ESGs and how they impacted the entertainment industry. Always wondered how these companies could lose the audience and be fine with it.
We have to be tread really carefully with that. We kind of do it already. We are actually doing that as it is. We just have to be really, really careful because that's the kind of stuff that gets you shut off the platform.
Yeah.
So if you know what to look for and you watch your videos, you'll find it there already.
Yeah. As far as losing the audience and being fine with it, it lasts long enough as long as there's guaranteed money and other things there. But like I hope things like Spider-Man will wake them up, when they get a taste of real money. When Disney has probably made more money off of Spider-Man than they did the last 3 Marvel movies put together, and they're only getting a small percentage. Yeah.
Well, you're not wrong there, Tom, because you need to consider that the particular division, because this company's been moving stuff around like shell game for a little while, as far as, who reports to in what area. They moved their film into a different division, and they reported a loss in the previous quarter, with Black Widow and Shang-Chi and everything else came out. So we'll have to see, what things look like after Spider-Man, in that particular area. Right.
Yeah. And then Jack McCarthy sends in a member chat. Thank you so much. He's an edgelord. Says, love the channel, guys. Happy to celebrate the new year and my 4-month membership here. Well, thank you, Jack. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
And then Ironcaster sends in $2 and says she's Captain Karen of the Blue Ma'am group.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Ugh. I'm so sick of Star Wars.
It's the problem is that for a lot of us, I mean, it's kind of deceased, maybe.
Somebody said earlier that I highlighted in the chat. I mean, it's been a year since we've had Mandalorian.
Yeah.
They've really done nothing in between there to boast any kind of interest in it. Here we are, how many years out since the last Star Wars movie?
3
years almost.
2019.
or over 3 years now. Yeah. Man, I just don't care anymore.
Well, I mean, it's not Star Wars. That's why.
Yeah. Then Steven, aka Deleted Scenes, says, "Hail, Andre, Tom, Script, Culture, and Chat." And we have a special guest joining us, the one, the only inebriated 3PO.
Hello.
Greetings.
Hello.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. I can't stay too long, but it's kind of crazy. I didn't want to interrupt anything, Tom. If you're
no, absolutely. You're always welcome.
Real quick, the reason why we're saying $6,000, because a lot of people are asking in the chat, is while the website is advertising $4,800 for 2 people, is like they're not including tax and they're not including the extra stuff you have to pay for. Plus, the price that they're advertising on the website is non-peak day, not even weekend prices. So if you go over the summer, Christmas, or anywhere else, it'll be way more expensive than $4,800. Gotcha. So kind of rounded it off to about $6,000. That's where that price is coming.
Still crazy.
Also, I I got pictures from the inside. I can't show them yet because I was told that I'll send them to you, Tom. You just can't.
No problem.
So I apologize. I probably shouldn't have said anything, but I missed it on the video.
Can you give some vague impressions?
Yeah, it's just because the reason why we can't show them is that they're afraid that you'll get copyright claim, like Disney will claim the channel or video or something like that. So it's basically what it is the rooms look really cheap, and they did that on purpose is to keep people out of the rooms. So because they want them to be have an experience in the cosplaying LARPing place. So that's pretty much it. And they're having the last I heard was like they're having problems with the big television, I guess, where it looks like you're in outer space. So like they're not working. So a lot of the pictures have like the bed like removed while they're trying to fix those TV screens. So it's really interesting to see. Like I think the question is now is because of the grand scale of staff that they need for this place is how, like when's the my question is like what's the minimum? Like what if only 10 people book for the 2 days? Do they cancel because they have so many staff as far as like cosplayers or people that are in costume? And for the shows, do they give them the full experience if it's not fully booked? Does it have to be 80% booked? Does it have to be 50% booked? And so people, so let's say Tom goes and he got his plane tickets, he's got everything ready to go, and then they tell him, 2 weeks before, hey, we have to cancel because not enough people are staying. So where does that leave Tom with his plane tickets, his like everything else that he's doing? So that's like. I don't know if they've thought all that stuff through. That's
a good question, or is it a compromised experience? Maybe. Like, I mean, you go like if a restaurant's having a slow day, they send home servers and stuff, right? I mean, it's kind of similar.
You're gonna see, but here's the problem. Okay, so there's multiple PR problems on this, and I'm sure Jay knows what they are. You start canceling because there aren't enough people going. That's getting out into the world. So that's the last thing they're going to do, right? Do they deliver an underwhelming experience? No, they can't afford to do that. This thing has to be something that will dazzle and create word of mouth viral interest. So they can't go about doing that. So do they continue to lose money at this for a year to 18 months to try to artificially lift it up? And I believe that they would try to do that until they found a way to retool it so that it's something that more people could enjoy. No,
Given how you described it, that does sound like an exceedingly likely course of action. That they would just put more and more money into it because they can't afford to let everyone know it's a failure. Right. Because then that becomes even a greater failure.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Well, sadly, the first 7 days of booking is filled with theme park vloggers, and sadly I couldn't get on that list, and other YouTubers and stuff that'll probably come out and say it's pretty amazing. And we'll see. The other thing is too, it's weird. It's like unless they change. I feel, honestly, and from the people that I've talked to in there, is that they are really scrambling to change everything that was leaked. So people it's just different than what everyone's talking about. Because even now, they're not even letting people they want you to not surrender your phones, but they don't want you taking photos or videos during most of the experience. You could probably take them in your room, because they don't, I guess they're following it under the clause of like, they don't, they want people to be surprised. So no, now just for context, Universal Studios does that as well for like their Halloween Horror Nights. They don't want anybody filming through the haunted houses. So if you're caught filming through the haunted houses, you're asked to leave. And if you post it on any social media, they could take it down. But it's just weird. You pay all that money, and the only pictures and videos you can take are ones from the professionals that they hire inside, and you have to pay for them as well. So it's just crazy. Like, you just sit back and you're just watching this thing, and they only got 2 months. They only have 2 months. It's March 1st, so it's crazy.
Jay, how do you think? I know they can't, so this is why I'm asking this question. How do you think they go about fixing the already leaked experience of the lightsaber training?
I don't think they can. I think that's one thing that they'll just, keep that up. But as far as the immersions, the other thing is too is that a lot of people aren't talking. I don't know how they fix it. So Disney is the only theme park. Well, Universal is a little bit, but Disney is very, for however you feel about wearing mask. If you're inside anything Disney, and the rest of Florida is not like this, but Disney is. If you're inside a line, a restaurant, a store, anything Disney, you have to wear a mask, even in the hotels. So basically, if you're going to do this LARPing experience for 2 days, you'll have a mask on the entire time. And I know people.
That's not going to take you out of the experience at all.
Well, makes it easier to sneak in as a stormtrooper.
Well, I'm just saying, it's like some people, even for medical reasons, can't keep a mask on that long to do certain things. So I don't know how that. I just don't know how all this is going to work. And now there's lawsuits right now that I just covered on Park Hoppin'. And if you want more, the Park Hoppin' channel for Geeks and Gamers, they one of the resorts that's connected with Disney, the Swan and Dolphin, is being sued. This is the second time now, because people are canceling because of rises in COOF cases here in Florida. Mm-hmm. So they're canceling conventions and stuff, and yet the Disney hotels are fighting with them, saying we're gonna make you pay cancellation fees. And it's interesting to see how that's going to play out, because if they win this lawsuit, if Disney doesn't win this lawsuit, then how that might reflect on a lot of things that they do as part as, cancellations go. It's like, yeah, you owe us $6,000 for the experience. Well, I'm going to cancel 2 days. I want all my money back because, pandemic reasons. So like, it's just interesting how all that's going to play in. So they're not doing themselves any favor. Universal has done above and beyond in catering to things like that when people canceled, and giving full refunds without asking, things like that. So it's really it's fascinating to see that they feel that Disney feels like we are the top dog and people will pay and they'll like it no matter what. And thank you, Nina, for dropping the link. Also, last thing, I'm sorry, I don't mean to take up everyone's time.
No.
I spoke to Clownfish TV yesterday. We talked for like 2 hours, and they actually have a video on their channel about the top leading Disney theme park travel agent. The guy was a major Disney shill, I guess, whatever you want to call it. He made a living doing theme park Disney travel agency for Disney, and he just came out on a podcast saying Disney just doesn't care about their people anymore when it comes to the theme parks.
Yep.
And he puts a lot of the blame on Bob Chapek. Now, of course, Kathleen Kennedy and Iger's, this was their dream for this hotel, but Chapek is the one that's saying, hey, we're gonna cut every corner, we're gonna charge more and cut every corner. Because if you remember now, to get into the parks, they've doubled the cost of parking. The theme park ticket has gone way up with a lot of their perks, and this is Disney, not Universal, a lot of their perks just completely gone. And it's aggravating for people. And so it's so funny. If you see my Twitter, I'm posting stuff about Disney, Super Disney, nothing can go bad at Disney theme park channel bloggers, whatever you want to call them, are starting to say, I don't like going to Disney anymore because it sucks. Yep. And which is shocking, because these are the people that are like, these are the people that Disney could do no wrong. If you know what I'm talking about.
The diehard biz nerds.
Yeah, they skip and dance and record and have every ear and do everything, and they're always there and everything is wonderful. Even they are saying, you know, it sucks. And it's so funny. It's funny to me that these theme park vloggers are now feuding and fighting on. I posted threads on this on my Twitter. They're fighting with each other because some are starting to complain, and the other ones are like, why are you complaining? Don't turn into one of those people that complain about beautiful Disney. It's just so funny to see these people fight. And it's like, this is what's coming, you know. It's like, if you can't please those people, you have a serious problem. Now, with that being said, this past week, Disney was more packed than it has been in 2 years. So figure that out. I mean, so it's like, where are we? You know, do they look at those numbers and go, well, people are complaining, but they're still going, you know? And so it's like, it doesn't matter. And we still have people booked for the hotel, so they're still booking. So it's like, you know, but I mean, even Dave Portnoy from Barstool Sports went to Hollywood Studios and was like, he said, if you know who that person is, he was like, I walked around Hollywood Studios and I couldn't find Galaxy's Edge. And he said he blamed Disney for the terrible marketing and the signs in his video. He's like, I couldn't even find it. I walked around the park. I couldn't even find it. It's so funny. So you just wonder. You wonder if, like,
a full-size Millennium Falcon and he still couldn't find it.
Well, Culture Casino can back me on this. When you go to Galaxy's Edge, basically to get into Galaxy's Edge, it's like a dark tunnel that has no wording or no signing, because they want you to feel like you're in a Star Wars land, which is really odd. So if you don't see the dark tunnel, you're not going to walk into it. Nope. So
it was, I mean, you know, a lot of the concepts originally here would have introduced you to this area or this land a lot more effectively than the way they do it now. So Jay's not wrong. It's a really strange, scraped out tunnel. And on the other side, it's a really weird entry point as well.
It's just like gray, brown walls.
Yeah. Yeah, so, it's very strange. Yeah, when you move from Toy Story Land, they again, the design was poor. The design in California is not much better. I know Jay's been to both at this point now. It's just, you end up in, you know, it's underwhelming. I mean, aside from the Millennium Falcon, you know, the whole experience of the land itself is underwhelming, and now they're going to deliver an underwhelming hotel experience. So it's going to be bad.
Here's the thing. The truth is, they can correct this problem very easy. It is so easy to correct Galaxy's Edge. And you can even keep some of the sequel stuff in there. It's so, you can walk through it and just go, well, why not just call this Tatooine? Why not call this Moist Eisley Cantina? Why not add this? Why not add, you know, Darth Vader? Why not add? I mean, you got the ships there. It's a simple fix, but they did something so stupid, which they didn't do to any part of their parks, was they locked Galaxy's Edge in to a time period between The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker, and they're sticking to their guns.
Yep,
we're keeping it in between The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker, which they don't do anywhere. Like in any one of their themed lands, Avatar, Toy Story Land, whatever. And it's just like, why would you limit yourself for something like that when it could be absolutely amazing? And now they've done this with the Galaxy StarCruiser. You're also living in that time period. And the big hoo-ha is eventually they're going to introduce Grogu into that time period, and he is going to be the focal center point of Disney Star Wars, like Luke Skywalker or Anakin, whoever you want to pick, or Darth Vader was to us with the George Lucas Star Wars. the Disney Star Wars will focus around Grogu. So apparently they're going to weave in all these kinds of stories where he lived and he's alive and he's here and he's that.
Yeah, that and highly repugnant stuff going to be.
That shows how bankrupt they are, basically.
Well, no,
it's so crazy. You're right, Culture. It's just like, it's so crazy. It's an easy fix.
Yeah, but here's the weirdest thing, and Jay's pointed out the thing I've been saying for a long time. Disney used to be timeless in anything they presented to you, not just in the theme parks, but in their films. And they don't have that sense anymore. There is no sense of timelessness. They have literally, if they wanted to get away from their primary audience and focus on this tiny little sliver of time that was the most divisive period of time in this IP, which was dumb. Think about it. You could have entered, you could have gotten on Star Tours, which is, still marketed as a theme park ride, right? Because it's kind of, with the fake sets, the fake, the partial ad, all that. You walk into that, and then when you exit, not only are you exiting through the guest shop, right? But you're exiting actually into Tatooine. You would actually be walking out going, wait a minute, I was just on this ride. Now I'm in Tatooine. And then you could exit or into Hoth or whatever, but at least exiting into the area that, it was Star Wars. That was the original design, the way it was supposed to be laid out. You were supposed to have lost, the Muppet Square and a whole lot of other things and where this was originally being placed. And one of the reasons they were doing that was so they could put Cars Land in that back corner where the hotel now sits, adjacent to Toy Story Land. So you would have had Toy Story Land, Cars Land, Galaxy's Edge, all like stacked there, in that back half of the circle. And that's the other problem. And Dave Portnoy points it out with the way that this is not advertised within the parks. Disney went away with Hollywood Studios. This is an Eisner thing from the hub and spoke approach to the theme parks, like have a central location that leads you out to everywhere else. That's the way the Magic Kingdom is designed. You have two similar concepts in Epcot. To a certain extent, you have that same concept with the weenie in the center was what Walt called the big icon in the center, whether it be a castle or a tree or whatever. They went away with that. They still kept the weenie, but now it's just a big circle with the way they've laid out the studios park. So
I will say this. Chris Gore made an excellent point. If Galaxy's Edge was centered on the original trilogy and was Mos Eisley, we wouldn't be having this conversation. So The original designers and builders, because I live right next door, I saw this thing being built from the ground up. It started as Mos Eisley.
Yep.
It started to have every single trilogy was going to be a part of the Star Wars land experience. They had it all mapped out. You walk in, there's part of Tatooine. They even had rides centering around each of the separate trilogies.
Yep.
Kathleen Kennedy came in, and this guy is on record saying it. The original designer for Disney, he doesn't work for them anymore, and said Kathleen Kennedy showed up with a bunch of people and said, we're going to move forward. We're going to make these stories forward, not backwards.
Yep.
We're not going to go backwards. We're going to push forwards with new characters, new stories, and tie them all in together. So we're going to make the change. So it was that day Mos Eisley died.
Yep.
And so they created a land. So this Galactic StarCruiser is going to be featured in the High Republic. It's going to have a role in the destruction of the Death Star. And the captain is going to have a pivotal point. And this is all stated. Like they've all stated, they're weaving these people into Star Wars, these new characters into Star Wars, so people will say, oh yeah, that's the captain that helped Luke blow up the Death Star, and oh, this is the ship that's in, and this, and Batu is just going to be woven into all their new stuff. Batu was actually supposed to be in the Rise of Skywalker. They were debating whether Rey goes to Batu instead of Tatooine, and so she went to Tatooine instead and buried lightsabers. So
yeah.
Well, this seems to be fitting into a normal pattern with Disney, where they have the established lore and IP, but they don't do it, and it might be more of a financial reason because, again, we don't know all the details of the buyout deal for Lucasfilm. We do know that George Lucas technically still personally owns a piece of Star Wars along with his own stock options in Disney. And part of me suspects, because they're leaning so much into the stuff that Disney themselves have created under their own tenure of Star Wars, that there might be actually a financial reason for it as well, so that they can recoup or retain more of the money that's brought into it, and they don't have to disperse it out to anyone that might have a stake in the original lore.
But if they did the script, don't you agree, though, if they did like a lot of the original stuff, they would make enough money to spread it around, and they wouldn't have to they wouldn't have to worry about it.
Oh,
I mean,
they could make a lot more money, but they would just be looking at what they're not able to keep as opposed to what they're able to spread around.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, they still use Chewbacca. They still use the droids. They still use certain things from the original. It's just it's woven in there, and they still have Star Tours, which has a lot of the original stuff in it. That's in part of the parks, and they actually have a Star Wars museum there called a Launch Bay, which is on the other end of the park, where actually you could hear John Williams' music. You could actually see props and stuff from the original movies. Like all that stuff is there. You could walk through it and see it. So that's where you can get photos.
Sees anything, I regret that we have to see Culture Casino out because you have prior commitment. But I just want to say thank you for joining us today.
Oh, absolutely, and I was really happy that Jay was able to pop in here. So that was a lot of fun. So, but I had a great time as usual. I hope everybody has a wonderful New Year. This is a great Monday and a great way to kick it off. Thanks for hanging out with us, and I appreciate hanging out with you. Have a great day, everybody.
Take care,
Culture.
Yeah. And Jay, sorry. Carry on.
No, not at all. I couldn't stay too long either. But I appreciate the invite always.
Anytime.
But does anybody have any questions before I hop off? Just curious.
I mean, you've pretty much covered. I mean, you do a great job on your own. So
if anyone in the chat has a question for Jay, now is your time.
But Jay otherwise, I recommend
on the Galaxy Cruise. If he dresses up as Chewbacca, he's tall enough.
I was gonna say, if not, they'll definitely check out your channel for any further updates on that, of course.
Yeah, and I actually have a question there, and that is how much bureaucracy do they have to go through to change things? Because I remember what you were saying about Kathleen Kennedy saying that no. There's more stories to tell sets in the future of the original trilogy than in the past. Because at the time when they made that decision, they firmly believed that the sequel trilogy was going to be a hit. This is what everyone would want. They would make everyone want that. And people would kind of like leave the past in the dust. And that hasn't happened. How long or what kind of bureaucracy is needed to change course from that? Because we see that the High Republic, all of that is kind of failing. And I do believe that script may have a point in that Disney, there's a bigger financial incentive to go with something that they created all on their own. But they can still do that with Mandalorian land and new Boba Fett land. You'll note that this Boba Fett that we're now seeing on Disney Plus, he's 25% different. He still has like this black thing underneath his armor and everything, because that's their Boba Fett. They could do something like that and keep all the proceeds for themselves. But then that means that they have to make an admission that this thing that we tried first, that was a failure. What kind of bureaucracy is needed for something like that to happen? Culture, he said before, that is going to be like at least a year and a half where they just pump money into it because they can't admit that this is a fail. But with Bob Iger out the building, Kathleen Kennedy hanging on, but not with the same level of power before, what's it going to take to change course?
Money, I think. I mean, that's the only thing. I don't think we've been talking about this. I mean, forever. At the end of the day, the truth is the parks are still packed. So as long as people, keep going. And listen, Disney has built that staple in for people that are like, the normies are just like, hey, let's go to Disney for vacation. They don't know what's going on. A lot of them don't even know what happened with Gina Carano and all that other stuff. And so it's, they still go. So until I think they start to see things drop. Now, I bring this article up over and over, and it's just still true today. Like 2 years ago, Reader's Digest did an article about someone who just left Disney, and they were just saying in the next few years, Disney theme parks they just want to cater to the 1%. And you're going to see a triple increase in price and stuff because they feel that if the wealthy go and have a better experience, they'll spend more money and they'll pay a lot of money for the hotels and the tickets and stuff like that. It was kind of interesting when that came out. You read that, and I did a video on it long ago, and I got criticized saying that'll never happen, but we see it right now that it's happening. I just think at the end of the day, it all comes down to leadership. If a change in leadership happens with a new vision and a new, of what's happening, it's that will help. But if they are making money, it's not going to change anything. It'll just be mediocre. But I will say this, that report recently, which for people that live in Orlando will know that this is a huge deal, that this past month, Universal has outsold tickets and hotel reservations than Disney World in Orlando. And that has never happened ever.
Wow.
So there is something. Now, I know a lot of people came to vacation in Florida because of our freedoms compared to other states. So it's very interesting to see that switch. Universal hotels were completely booked solid almost for the entire month of December and into the first 2 weeks of January. And Disney was not. And so somebody compared some of these numbers. Now, Universal's not as big and they don't have as much properties, but even still, they outsold Disney. So there's definitely something spinning in the air where people are starting to notice by just trying to book a trip, where it's like, yeah, you got to pay almost $40 to park your car, a day. I mean, that adds up just to park your car. So if you go like 3 or 4 days, you're spending a couple $100 just to park your car. They used to offer free fast passes at Disney. They don't do that anymore. You got to pay. It's just all the benefits that they used to have. Now what Disney has done now is the biggest oops that everyone's talking about that no one really understands is they canceled they called it the Magic Bus, the Disney bus. So basically what that was is when you came into the airport, they picked you up and took you to your hotel. Now they canceled that. And that was a huge perk because that was built into their price. Now that it's still built into their price, but you don't get that perk anymore. And just hearing echoes of everyone, saying that is a terrible decision for them to do, even though it might not sound like much, but it just was. Disney used to design a plan where you got picked up from the airport and they took care of you from the moment you were there till you left, till you go back to the airport. They took you to the parks. You didn't have to drive. They took you to your hotel. They had people do this. They had it all set up, and that was all in the cost. And now they've taken all that away and are now charging twice as much. So it's crazy what they're thinking. I don't know why everyone is calling Bob Chapek. That's just what I hear. It's what I hear. So let me just answer some quick questions real quick. I see them in the chat. I'll go.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll go really quick.
Matthew W says, do you think the rumor from WDW Pro is going to happen with Chewbacca and Grogu?
I think you kind of mentioned this already, but yeah.
I think so. It's hard to say. I do know this, that my friend that works there says that sometimes they tease stuff to see the reaction. And if the reaction is terrible, they change it. And that could be what's happening with the Galactic StarCruiser. You don't hear Disney removing videos off YouTube. So the fact that they took the commercial down is very telling. It's very telling. So sometimes they'll leak stuff out to see, just to see what the reaction is. And if the reaction is 50-50, they'll probably just keep going with it. But that's it's hard to say, it's hard to say. You look at all the stuff that they're doing, and it's like, who do they surround themselves with? Anyway, Bob says, is Jay still gay? No, never have been, but thanks for the question. Nina says, I have a question. I thought KK wasn't in charge of the park side of things. She's in charge of the Star Wars side of stuff. It's not, she has to sign off on anything that concerning Star Wars or Lucasfilm. 1 to 10, Jay, rate the hotel as you saw it. I didn't get to see the performances or the food or anything like that, so it's hard to say. As far as the room, 4, definitely a 4. Jay, will you? This is from Chris Gore. Jay, will you and Gina go to the Star Wars hotel? She could go in disguise. Yeah, I'll dress her up as Cara Dune. They'll never know it's her. Question: Jay, you have beautiful teeth. How do you get them so white? Gotta go to a dentist. I think that's about it. Will Kathleen Kennedy be one of the dancing girls? Will she serve me coffee? At this point, maybe. So we'll see. But I do have to run. I have another.
That's 70s rock fan. He wanted Jay. Why are you so good?
I don't know.
Just to be the sexiest man on YouTube, you gotta be that good.
I gotta give my crown up to everyone. You know, we're all getting older. I'm getting more gray hairs. It's like
that's just distinguished.
Yeah.
We'll go with that.
Yeah, we'll see.
Anyway, we love you, Jay, and thank you for stopping.
I appreciate it, Tom.
Man.
No, I appreciate it. So thank you guys. Script Doctor, always a pleasure. Andre, Tom, thank you guys so much. Keep doing what you're doing. Like I've said this a million times before, and this is my opinion only. I'm so glad there's an alternative on YouTube other than John Campia, and it's you guys. I usually have you guys on. That's why I heard what y'all were talking about while I'm doing other stuff here in the house. So,
well, we got over 1,700 people watching right now, so please hit that like button. Please check out Drunk 3PO's channel as well as Park Hoppin'.
Appreciate it.
Where you guys do all the park stuff over there. And is there any other channels or videos you'd like to plug before you?
Oh no, that's it. And once Tom stops ducking me, I want to get him on my podcast. So, but he won't answer my text.
I know.
So Andre, I'm going to talk to you about that because Tom's been very rude to me in my texts. I can't get.
I'll give him some extra work so he can think of what he's done.
Well, everybody gets an obligatory dick pic first of all.
I mean, okay, sounds good. Talk to y'all later.
Right. Take care, Jay.
Take care, Jay. Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much for the $5, and we'll get caught up on the newer ones. But I'm going backwards towards the ones that we started with here. It says, let DC and Disney pay the price for their lack of vision. Yes, I don't disagree with that, Warachi, at all. If I'm saying your name correctly. Let's see here. The next one we had before that would have been, I think we're close to the ones where we left off, but we're not quite there yet. Southbound 110 sends in $5 and says Disney is taking the all-inclusive resort thing all wrong, ticking boxes and kicking old fans to the curb. Well, yeah, that's kind of like what all these franchises are doing.
Unfortunately, yes. Yeah. All you can do is vote with your wallet.
Exactly. And then Callum Lyle sends in $5 and says from Australia. Says, I predict that every week and month DC will make character gay because diversity, and they'll go up, and a gay. Fire Jim Lee and Jerry. Oh, Lord. I don't know about that.
We'll get into DC before long here. I'll just go get caught up in a few more super chats, then we'll get into DC a bit. And
then we had PRRK4 Pacific says, I don't think it would happen, but I would love DC to expand the Jokerverse. I'm surprised we haven't seen more come out of that, but
I'm not.
Yeah, they're busy working with their Lex Luthor origin story.
I was gonna say, yeah, they kind of got the wrong idea right off the bat from that, so I'm kind of glad they haven't.
Yeah.
But we also have a very special guest joining us right now, Mr. Chris Gore. How you doing, my friend? Happy New Year.
Chris, Happy New Year.
Hey, Happy New Year to all you guys. Sorry, I realize I'm commenting on this as I'm working, and I'm like, why don't I just drop in?
You are always welcome, sir.
I appreciate it. But I did have some inside info on Galaxy's Edge and kind of what it was supposed to be. So
interesting.
It was really interesting what Jay was saying about how they cut back, right? How they cut back on a bunch of stuff. So, I have friends in the theme park arena, and obviously, like a lot of people, was excited about Galaxy's Edge. They cut back so much stuff before the opening. It's kind of shocking. So one of the things that was supposed to happen, and I'll explain why I have direct knowledge of this and how it turned out, which is really interesting, is that the park, Galaxy's Edge, was supposed to have these kind of experiences that were happening like on the fly, not just stormtroopers walking around or Kylo Ren, being mad at people. There was actually a thing where rebels or smugglers were going to do a heist, and it was actually like this thing that was happening right in front of you, like a show, but you're in it, right? you know, when you see those like, you know, Universal will do those like the Miami Vice show, it was going to be like that. So like there are these smugglers and there's a story and they have like this heist and then they pull off the heist and there's like but you're like in it as it's happening. All of that was scrapped at the last minute. And then what happened was the performers who were rehearsing that and doing all that and the script was moved to Knott's. So if you go to Knott's Berry Farm, they do this festival every year, and they just took the script that was going to be used for Galaxy's Edge. They changed it to cowboys and a sheriff, and then they just executed the plan that way. So if you want to see what Galaxy's Edge was supposed to be, go to Knott's Berry Farm and check out this show that they do. And it's really fun. I went and actually saw it, and they steal a safe, and then there's this big chase, and it's all like you're in it. It's not like a show you sit and watch. It's like happening in the streets. So that would have been cool. You know, just also the fact of just like making Galaxy's Edge centered on the original trilogy. It's so obvious. You have Princess Leia. Nobody cares that it's not accurate to the experience. You've got Princess Leia. I mean, like they do princess photo ops.
That's not the real Snow White at Disney World.
Exactly. But you know what I mean? It's like they do princess photo op experiences. Why isn't there photo op experiences with droids, with, you know, R2-D2 and C-3PO? It's so obvious. How did they? I mean, it's like, it's obvious to us because we're, you know, I believe that everyone here understands Star Wars.
No, like I've said, they could make a whole entire park based on Star Wars.
Right. And in fact, weren't there plans to do one? If you can Google this, there was plans for an entire Star Wars park. So,
well, it would make sense. I mean, you could basically take everybody through all the movies, right? A different land per movie.
Or a different planet. You know what I mean?
That's what I mean. Yeah, like you start off in Mos Eisley, and then you go into, you know, Hoth, and then you go into, you know, like the Ewok Forest or on the Death Star or something like that, and then, you know, then you can go into a pod race, you know, and just all you can experience things throughout. You could do every one of the movies and then some.
Exactly.
You'd have to be in the pod race, though. That's the thing.
That's right? What I mean. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, where is the people not thinking of these things, right? Like when you think of Star Wars, what do you think of? Light speed, lightsabers, pod races. That's the fun action stuff, right? So why are you not in the middle of a pod race script, Doctor? Why are you not having a lightsaber battle with a villain? Like Chris said, why are you not able to get a bunch of photo ops with droids and R2-D2? Right?
Well,
like it's
the lightsaber battle with a villain might be an issue with insurance for the actors performing against you.
You can still kind of make play, but yeah,
you can do a video thing of it. I mean, you could also, like, you know, you could bet on the pod races. That'd be great. Let's be gambling into all this.
But we also have another guest joining us, one of our toxic femmes, Miss Nina Infinity. How you doing this morning?
Hey, how are you guys?
Hey, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Andre. I haven't talked to you since last year.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Imagine that.
Last year was like 3 days ago. But
Yeah.
But yes, I don't know if you've ever had a chance to meet Chris yet, but Chris, meet Nina. Nina, Chris.
I have. I've had the pleasure of meeting you on Midnight's Edge, actually.
That's right. Okay. So I just want to make sure everybody was introduced. But yeah, Chris, it just doesn't make any sense to me that, you know, you want to give people the Star Wars experience. Well, then give them the Star Wars experience.
Exactly. I just think that the sequel trilogy, I think for many of us, has just been such a colossal disappointment. I'm shocked that they tried to center all their theme park experiences around the sequels that, you know, most people are not a fan of.
That is the most bizarre situation. When I heard that, I was like, I mean, the fact that she went there, like the fact that they had the plan to do the OG trilogy stuff, and then KK went there and was like, no, never mind. And it's just so reflective of like their whole movies, because that was the whole message of The Last Jedi, was like, you know, let the past die, kill it. And they didn't want anything to do with the past.
Yeah, they don't make money off the past, not as much as the stuff that they make now. And I think that's going to be the convincing factor. KK probably said there's more stories ahead than there are in the past. And Bob Iger looked at the numbers and said, you know what, if we do this thing the old way, like with the original trilogy and all that stuff, we might actually, as part of a contract with George Lucas and acquisitioning Lucasfilm, we might actually have to end up losing a certain percentage of dollars to him, and instead of reaping all that money solely for Disney. And I think that might be the case, because as we're getting further and further along, understanding the industry on the public side of things, especially with regards to licensing and merchandising, we're seeing that there are definitely a lot more deals happening that go into something that we as fans would say like, well, that doesn't make much sense, but from a corporate mindset makes perfect sense, because it's about retaining the majority percentage of ownership, and as a result, the majority of the finances from that ownership.
Well, and that's exactly what's happening
here
with regards to Grogu, with what Jay was saying, because at first, like, I recall that Grogu wasn't really like a huge deal with regards to the Mandalorian, because I haven't watched it, but I know that like the character itself wasn't a huge deal until people made it a deal. Like they were like, oh my God, this is so cute. And then Disney realized, oh my God, we actually have an IP here that could be really, good. That's why they didn't have any merch for it or anything when the show first dropped.
I think there's another reason for that. I think that the toy companies, between how bad the toys had sold for The Last Jedi and the nonsense they were dealing with The Rise of Skywalker, because you got to remember, this was at the exact same time as The Rise of Skywalker. Mm-hmm. And we learned later on that the reason there was, for the first time in history, no 3 3/4 inch toy line attached to a Star Wars film was because they had changed the movie so many times. They had a warehouse full of toys they couldn't sell because the characters weren't in the film. So I think at that point, I think the toy companies, because this is what we keep saying is, well, why do they keep making toys? Well, what's this? What's that? It's that. It's because Disney gets their money up front for the toy licenses. It's the toy companies and the stores that are stuck with the overstock in the end. It's not Disney that loses out. So basically, what I think happened is the toy companies are like, no, fuck that. And they took one look at Grogu and said, we can see Jar Jar Binks all over again. Because I'll tell you, I still got a box somewhere in storage from when I had a video store where the only stuff from episode 1 that didn't sell was the Jar Jar Binks stuff.
Yeah, I remember that from working at Blockbuster and having all
that stuff. So I think they took one look at Grogu and they're like, I can see Jar Jar Binks all over again. You guys just screwed us on this Rise of Skywalker deal. You guys are, fuck you guys.
But that's the thing though, Tom, like either way, right? They discovered through,
it was after the fact. Yes,
exactly. Like after the fact, and they discovered through social media or whatever, that Grogu was a huge hit and everybody wanted the merch. That's when they went into overdrive to try and do all this merch. And now that they've realized they have this IP, they're like, now let's build the entire park around it. Versus we should have built the park around our OG characters: Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, Han Solo, Chewbacca. These are the OG characters that made Grogu possible. Yoda, like Yoda itself. But instead, they've gone and been they just doubled down on their crappy trilogy, and they're losing money they're gonna, and you know what, they're gonna lose even more money when Nintendo Land opens. That's the other thing, that's coming. And Jay was saying they have they've been getting kind of destroyed by a Universal. Universal has been selling out more than they are. Just wait until Nintendo Land opens. And I think that whole mask thing, I'm sure, has an effect on people as well. If you have to wear a mask in Disney and walk around all day versus you don't have to in Universal, that's going to make a huge impact on people. Those things matter to people who are vacationing from other places that want freedom in Florida.
That's a good point. That is a good point. But no, the funny thing is though, all they have is Baby Yoda at this point. All they have is Grogu.
All they have is Baby Yoda. You're right.
Well, but it's all built around greed, because if they had, merchandise that was centered on the original trilogy, they'd have to pay a license fee to Mark Hamill, to Harrison Ford, It's that's why it's so weird. That's why Splinter of the Mind's Eye, which was the novel that came out, it was like the sequel to Star Wars, right? The low budget. It was supposed to be the low budget indie sequel to Star Wars if the movie bombed. And even the painting on the cover is the backs of the heads of Luke and Leia, because Lucas didn't want to pay a license fee to have someone, paint their likenesses, but you'd have to, because
Disney's famous for that, Chris. They don't want to pay anybody. They don't pay their artists. They don't pay their writers. They don't pay anybody.
Well, that was my big question too, Chris, and I think we got an answer to that, was because after that fact, Lucas did basically have everybody sign off on their likeness rights, and he paid them for it. But then when it hit Disney, it didn't sound like that was the case, because it sounded like everybody had to re-sign over their likeness rights again.
Well, I'm sure there were legacy contracts. All that stuff is kind of beyond me, but yeah, look, you use someone's likeness, you have to pay for it. I'm sure that those deals were negotiated with, John Boyega and whatnot, the sequel characters. They signed deals that were more favorable to Disney, because also think about it, back when George Lucas even made Star Wars, the beginning, right? He got all the merch rights. That will never happen again. That will never, ever happen again for a creator.
Well, Alan Ladd Jr. lost his job over that business.
Yeah. Right, that's true. Oh, there's a great documentary you should see, Laddie, Laddie. It's about
I know
Alan
the one you're
Ladd.
talking about. Yep.
Yeah. I might even be on YouTube. Anyways, look up Laddie. Really great doc that goes over his relationship with George Lucas, his relationship with a lot of other filmmakers who he gave a lot of freedom to. But Disney is just so, they are the evil corporation. You just see it and I won't go to a place that forces me to wear a mask, right? If I go to a movie theater, I'm always eating popcorn, right? And thankfully, I don't want to go into too much detail about this, but there are a lot of places where I live in Pasadena that are not exactly enforcing any kind of rules. And there are, I'd say about maybe 50% of places are enforcing rules. If I find out they're enforcing rules, that's not a place that I'm going to give my money to, right?
Good for you.
Yeah, exactly. But I can't believe more people aren't pushing back. And the last thing I want to do is go to a theme park where I have to wear a surgical mask. F that. I'm done.
Yeah, in the middle of like hot Florida sun too. It's not even like, you're going somewhere where you need a mask, like in Canada. Because like in Canada, it's freaking cold. So
we wear scarves.
Yeah, you're wearing that shit in front of your face anyways. So
yeah, I actually don't. In cold weather, I don't mind wearing a mask, but it's just utterly ridiculous. It detaches from the experience. I'm just tired of even going to a store and not being able to smile at the person at Trader Joe's ringing up my groceries, right? Like exactly. I love people. And so this is just sort of, I'm just so over this. And I hear Florida's very nice. So
it's extremely nice.
Oh my
God. It's nice to be normal,
Right.
That's the thing. I don't know if you caught that, and we're not going to get too much into this, but you caught that new interview with Joe Rogan and Dr. Malone. He talks about the mass psychosis thing. That's what's going on right now, Chris. Is like we're in that middle of that mass psychosis. So that when you ask like why aren't more people standing up, it's because of that. We are all a lot of people are under hypnosis. They're
not just that. We're all scared creatures when it really boils down to like Tommy Lee. Yeah, and Tommy Lee Jones is right in Men in Black. Like a person is smart, but people are dumb, right? Yeah. Like you get a mass of people together and you tell them, something that they're going to believe it. It's just the way it works, especially when it comes from TV or the internet, and that's why a lot of people have such a hard time differentiating between the bullshit and the reality that's out there, and especially if you live on Twitter, for fuck's sake.
Absolutely.
Well, not even that.
That aside. Getting back to track before we get shut down here.
Because then we do have some super chats to catch up on as well. Cal says, ask Script Doctor, are you on Instagram? Because I want to share my DC fan comics with you, even if my art and writing isn't good.
I'm not on Instagram. I don't know how to do that. I am on Twitter.
And I'm kind of like me with that,
yeah, I halfway know how to do Twitter, I think.
I'm on Instagram and I don't know how to do that. So I'm just letting you know you're not alone.
And on the topic, before we move on from it, because there's super chats to go through, and of course there's the matter of DC. Kit Kat says for €5, what stopped them from having huge alien manatees throughout the park? Fenced green milk.
Oh my god!
And on that note, where are all the restaurants serving those little dirty things? What they're called again? Porks. Like I want a pork burger and minced pork meat. Those things they look.
That's a great point, Andre. And like one of the biggest sellers in Universal is butter beer from Harry Potter. Like you go to the Harry Potter land in Universal, that little cart in the middle of the Harry Potter land has the longest lineup. It's even longer than the freaking rides sometimes to get just butter beer. So I didn't try it because of the lines. Mm-hmm. It makes no freaking sense that they don't have that.
And Nina, have you had the butter beer with a shot of Jameson? It's even better.
Hell yeah, I have.
Yeah,
Well, no, I
today.
think I remember Jay was telling us about the menu for the restaurant that was in Galaxy's Edge, and they said they eventually just had to change everything because people didn't understand what half the shit was.
I
'Cause they
remember
had it, yeah.
we went to the butter beer place and we were like, wait, there's no alcohol in this? And the guy was like, no. And then I was like, well, that's easily solvable.
You can't
We
call
went
it
to the liquor
beer.
store.
Callum
And
Lyle
just
has
spiked
another
it.
super chat here. Says, I know this isn't true. Does KK have any relations with a bad person? Because they
Oh.
seem to have same tactics, but without gulags. Or is she just a Karen? I'm going to go with she's just a Karen at this point, unless we get some pictures otherwise saying so.
I'm gonna go with shares ideology, but no blood relation.
I'm gonna go with this. She's not just a Karen. She's like ultra Karen. It's like we're talking like, you know, the OG Karen of Karens here.
Yeah, and actually this super chat being a classic one, and sorry we're kind of all out of whack on the super chats here today. It's like I've got the top of the barrel, Andre's got the bottom of the barrel of the super chats,
That's
like
what
the
she
newer
said.
ones coming in. But Kit Kat actually brings up a super chat that has to do with one of our topics today. Says, if they retcon the Snyderverse out of existence, they set a precedent for retconning the entire run of Discovery and Picard in the third trilogy. That's an interesting point of view, Kit Kat. Although I would say that despite how bad Discovery and Picard are, I don't think they would do that. But
There's no such thing as retconning really in Hollywood. It's just abandoning.
Yeah.
Various forms of abandoning.
Yeah, isn't that what happened with Ghostbusters? Like the 2016.
pretty much.
Actually,
just, like,
it happened
abandoned
twice.
it.
Yeah, Afterlife is technically a revival. So
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, first 2016 abandoned everything that came before, and then
Right.
2016 was abandoned the exact same way.
Exactly.
And
Which
so
was
then I've got all the classic ones now. So now we're caught up with the newer ones we haven't got yet. Anyway, I should say.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
And with
Can
that,
you-
let's talk about some Snyderverse stuff. Because we dropped a video yesterday, Andre, did we not?
We did, and people are. Well, I'm sure many people, they've already seen the news independently of the video. So half of the video is basically, yeah, we told you so 6 months ago. But or actually, I'm lying. It wasn't 6 months ago. It was a year ago. But anyway, but it's making the rounds now. Nina and Chris, have you seen our most recent video yet?
I have.
I haven't had the chance, unfortunately, but I was going to. It was on the list. But then I saw your live streaming, so I just came on here and said.
I haven't seen the video, but I'm familiar with the situation. That just
You're
seems-
familiar with the situation. Brilliant. Because
I'm colossally disappointed. And I cannot believe at this point, there are so many franchises that were initially geared towards young boys
Mhm.
that were co-opted with, you know, female lead characters that nobody asked for, that there is clearly something going on that is larger than just, these are not decisions made by people interested in profit.
Mm-mm.
Something else is going on, because I cannot think, and Nina, please correct me or please add to this. I can't think of a franchise or a property geared towards women that they then decided, you know what? Let's do this, and let's make men like this. Let's do Sex in the City for men.
For men.
Which was pretty much Entourage, although that show's dated. I'm sure.
God,
And
I love
also
that
more
show.
women
Yeah,
liked it
but
than
it
men.
was still fun for its time. But you couldn't even do that now, because every
No.
episode, which is ridiculous. I think that the people at the top. I mean, Hollywood is run on fear, and people are afraid at this point. The powers that be, the people in the decision-making seats, are afraid to do certain things. And to me, the obvious thing is make a Superman movie with Henry Cavill, which everyone
thank
says
you.
that they want.
Thank you. I was
Yeah.
just going to say that, Chris. To me, the most bizarre thing of all time, even more bizarre than like what's going on with Disney, is you have Henry Cavill, one of the hottest stars on the planet, representing Superman, he's basically the embodiment of Superman. He looks exactly like the guy. And I'm not one of those people who like Snyder Cut. I'm not a huge fan of Snyder Cut or anything like that, but I love Henry Cavill as Superman. I think he is the embodiment of that character. You have him and you don't use him. You don't build an entire franchise of Superman movies around this man. You are dumb. I don't know what is happening over there. Why would they switch gears like this? I have no idea. By the way, who's supposed to be Supergirl now? Like that?
Yeah,
that girl they're uglifying.
Yeah. For those that haven't seen the video, and also we're going to do a huge live special on this on Wednesday with Mikey Sutton, who is a known scooper. It's a reason we reported on this a year ago. So you don't want to miss out on that. So everyone, make sure to be back here on Wednesday about this time. Mikey Sutton will be on. But anyway, to recap the video, there are rumors making the rounds that the intention with the upcoming Flash movie is to end the Snyderverse once and for all. And what they're going to do, and again, these are rumors right now. I'm not commenting on the validity of the rumors, just stating that this is the rumors. Multiple scoopers are reporting on this, although there is some disagreement about them, but the gist appears to be that what's going to happen in the Flashpoint movie, which guest stars Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck, is that over the course of the movie, there's going to be some time and universe traveling shenanigans, which is going to result in Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill being flashpointed out of existence, meaning Man of Steel never happened, Batman v Superman never happened, Justice League never happened, they will never be spoken of again, so that they can have a new universe, which will be led by Wonder Woman, by Aquaman, by Amber Heard's Mira, who they really want to give their own series, and replacing Batman will be Batgirl, who will be trained by Michael Keaton, Michael Keaton's Bruce Wayne, because he won't appear in Batman outfit after The Flash. And Supergirl, Sasha Calle's Supergirl, the one that we've seen in stills before.
Who's being Rose Tico'd.
Exactly. She who is being Rose Tico'd. She is then the new replacement Superman, while Batgirl is then the new replacement Batman.
Stepping into the role of Batman, yeah.
Exactly. And then the new DC Trinity will consist of not Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman, but Supergirl, Wonder Woman, and Batgirl. This is the gist of the rumor. Now, finally commenting on it, then Grace Randolph even said that, yeah, this is the new DC, so let's all be optimistic and give it a chance. Nina, are you optimistic? Do you feel empowered? Do you want to give this a chance?
Look, I'll just stay out like right off the bat. Ezra Miller was never my Flash anyway. Can we get him out? Like I wouldn't mind getting a female Flash at this point.
Ezra Miller, Tom, this is I hear the chat asking for the Ezra Miller clap. I know you must have it.
You want to fight?
Clip, you mean not clap, but yeah. I should have it here somewhere. I only got 500 clips.
Never mind. But anyway,
I'm not excited about this, but you know what?
On screen.
You know what though? This is the weird thing about this is that they're saying that this is going to be a flashpoint. If that's true, that doesn't necessarily mean it's something that's going to stick. Meaning that Flashpoint is a separate timeline created by the Flash when he goes back in time to correct things. So I don't know if that's something that's basically the story, like they're going to do that and create Flashpoint and then at some point go back to basically like when he corrects his quote unquote mistake and Flashpoint, he'll go back to the world that, you know, was Earth 1 or whatever, like the where he's from. So I don't know. I don't know if this is something that they're going to keep continuing with. I'm not really sure if that is the case and they're going to the MCU route. Well, they're going to suffer like the MCU route. They're not going to get the same amount of viewers. It's not going to have the same impact. It's just not.
Well, I mean, the thing is that you very much easily can make a bunch of female-led superheroes work, the first thing to do if you want to get the boys involved is give them a sexy silhouette. Now that doesn't mean like a lot of skin exposure. It just means a very attractive silhouette for their body, highlighting their femininity and their strength. And then give us a very compelling story that'll make us root for them. Because again, we have a very prominent example that has lasted for over 25 years, and that's Lara Croft Tomb Raider. Like lots of guys like her.
But movies can't be sexy anymore. Movies can't be sexy, and it's really difficult to even do a heterosexual relationship in a film, which is why I'm surprised Spider-Man did so well, right? It's just like completely devoid of any wokeness. You've got, sorry, spoilers, 3 Spider-Man, and it to me it exposes it exposes that audiences, normies, don't want what Hollywood is pushing now. And maybe Nina can confirm this. I feel like there are, because I've been going to San Diego Comic-Con since the 90s, right? And if you saw a woman at San Diego Comic-Con, it was like a Bigfoot sighting. It just never happened. Now, I will say that it is solidly, since 2007 at least, when Twilight was there, San Diego Comic-Con is 50% men and women, right? Fans, which is fine. There probably were a lot of closeted female fans that didn't feel comfortable going to a con, which is fine. But I feel like there are a lot of female fans of Marvel, the Marvel movies, specifically because of Beefcake. Because when you look back at it's a trope that all the male characters have to take their shirts off, right? To show off their pecs. And I feel a lot of female fans, I know a lot of, casual, moviegoer fans that were women who love the Marvel movies because it has hot guys.
Chris, you're not wrong. The only reason I even got into the DCEU, I'll tell you right now, I got into DC because I was a Spider-Man girl. I was a Marvel girl, like basically all my life. But I didn't really know about DC all that much. The only thing that got me into DC was the CW Arrowverse. And that first season of Arrow, where he kept taking his shirt off and doing reps, I was like, yes, that this is it. I'm in.
Well, that's why Aquaman was so big.
And that's how I got into Arrow, and that's how I got into The Flash, and blah, blah, blah. It's very instinctual, like you see these things and, sex sells, and it's true for both cases, for both men and women. We're all like warm-blooded beings that we like to look at pretty things. There's nothing wrong with that. So I don't know why they're going away from that. It's crazy to me. I mean, when we saw Captain America rip that like
the helicopter
in half, like with his shirt off, like
are you talking about the piece of wood?
Yes, the wood. Like when he just like, oh God, that was
Nina's brain was just going.
Or just when Captain America originally came out of the capsule, right? Like
that was
that
so
whole
great.
scene, and you could hear the sound of all the women's vaginas exploding.
Yeah.
Is that the sound that was made? Anyway, but you know what I'm saying is it's like Hollywood is afraid to be sexy in this weird thing. It's an overcorrection. Everything is an overcorrection in America.
It is absolutely an overcorrection.
We're such fucking pussies. Like a guy who unsuccessfully tried to blow up an airplane in Detroit with his the shoe bomber, is the reason we all now have to take our stupid shoes off. There's no sense of logic being used and like real science in making in any decision making with regard to policy, right? Like
Chris, you're forgetting we actually go through a scanner because of the underwear bomber who did that the following year.
Yep.
It's so ridiculous. All these things are like, as Americans, we just overreact to everything, which is why all the coof policies are so fucking ridiculous and not based on anything. And this whole you mentioned the Malone.
All I would say about it is that they're based on one thing. They are based on policing the deity called the science and his prophet, the one Fauci.
Well, anyway, you know what though? Let me rewind it back a little bit, because Chris, I'm from originally, my nationality is Persian. I'm Iranian. I was born in Iran, and we immigrated to Canada, and when I was a little girl in Iran, I got exposed to, because my family wasn't, totally into the Islamic law. So we would, somehow get hold of, Hollywood movies and stuff like that. So I grew up watching sex icons like Madonna and different people who were like in the 80s, like sex was a huge thing. Like I said, sex sells, right? And as a little girl growing up watching the West and understanding like what the difference between expressing yourself freely in your sexuality as a woman freely versus being completely covered and being completely basically told that you are nothing and that you should be covered up continuously in that culture. It was a huge dichotomy. So when I moved to Canada, it was a huge culture shock, but also like that's what I wanted. I wanted to be able to express myself and my sexuality freely. And that's something that even my mom wanted for me. And that's why we moved to Canada. So seeing the West go the route of the East now and like basically go into this hyper what you just called it, like try to just overcompensate by going that route of basically covering everyone up and telling people that sexuality is actually not okay, because that's what they're basically saying. They're saying that if you're doing this, you're doing something wrong, which is not that's not the case. If you find the opposite sex alluring or whatever, there's something wrong with you. There isn't. That's natural human behavior. And I feel like this is one of the things that's happening right now, is blurring the lines. There's always this thing happening in the media and in everywhere where they're trying to blur the lines between what's right and what's wrong, and so that they can create this normal reality for themselves. And I'm talking about like basically the psychopaths or the people in charge, whoever. They want to create this timeline, this universe, this whatever, so that they can be right. And it's really freaking weird, man. It's bizarre to see the West go kind of like Muslim. Like it's weird. It's just so weird to me.
Well, the West is becoming more puritanical and judgmental, shaming, and it's disgusting. And let me just say for a second, I appreciate what you just shared, because I grew up in Detroit, and I'm not sure if you're aware, but the largest percentage of population of people from the Middle East outside of the Middle East is in the Detroit area.
Right?
I didn't know. I had a lot of friends who were Persian, from Iran, and what was really interesting culturally speaking. And my mom, her best friend was Persian. Like, one of the interesting things that just I observed was that any of the families, the women who came from the Middle East here, they became hyper feminized. Like they wore mini skirts and heels and lots of makeup, and they celebrated their femininity because they were unable to, because they were so repressed.
That was me.
You had a similar thing in the Amish community too.
I did that.
Yeah, but that's fine. I mean, I don't understand how America is becoming less about the freedom to express yourself, and all the thing with the censorship that's happening. I'm sorry, I'm really derailing, but you brought up Malone earlier. Is whenever I notice that someone's being censored, that's someone I want to pay attention to. You know what I mean? Like,
it's usually the case. Yeah.
And here's what's ridiculous.
Well, it's the Streisand effect.
Exactly. It's the stupid thing that they're doing now. All of this is having an opposite effect. And I'll just, to bring it back to movies, in movie marketing. If your movie was banned or censored or somehow kept from being seen, that was something you advertised. If it was like a movie like, going way back, like El Topo or John Waters would not have a career if people didn't protest his movies.
Right.
So the fact that like they're taking these, scientists and experts and not allowing them to speak their mind, that just means pay attention to that. It's like I say, censorship and banning is a part of movie marketing and very successful, especially for independent films. But anyways,
but that's the other thing too. Like, and going back to movies, that was one of the things that they would do in Iran. They would censor everything, just like they were doing in China, right? Like they're doing in China now. And that was something that, the West would kind of like, feel, bad for the Chinese people, or like,
it used to be frowned upon, but now we're actually watching it in real time happening to us. Like I said before, it starts with a label, and they say this thing is bad, and then that label turns into, if you own this thing, it's bad. And then then they take it away, and then if they take you away, if you don't want to give it up, and that's how it all starts. It becomes contraband then.
Yeah, and then they start othering you, and it's just like it's bizarre. It's a bizarre.
No,
We
it's
live in a
insane.
bizarre timeline.
No, it's insane. And we should get back on topic here a little bit. And going back to the whole Star Wars Galaxy's Edge / what the hell's the new thing called now? StarCruiser. Meg said 6 and I could go for y'all. No one would suspect women to trash on them or something. They would probably try to stifle you.
Yeah, I would love to see Gina Carano go as Cara Dune. That would be fucking amazing.
I want to see her go with Jay with like just a mustache as a fucking.
Here's what I want to see. Is anyone going to Star Wars Celebration in Anaheim in May? Is anyone?
I think some people are planning, but I hadn't planned. Okay,
first of all, I bought these Star Wars Celebration tickets before The Rise of Skywalker came out. That's how long ago I bought these tickets. I feel like, okay, it's Anaheim. I live in Pasadena. It's a short drive. I'll go. But I wonder, the fandom is so fractured at this point. Are we going to see they do these meetups right outside where there's a fountain in front of the Anaheim Convention Center. They do like all the people dressed as, characters related to the Empire. So it's like Darth Vader and stormtroopers and all that. Let's just do all Princess Leia's. Is there going to be like a Cara Dune meetup? Is there going to be like a Welcome to the Rebellion t-shirts? Like, I feel like cool. I would love that. Like, I would just love if there was because the reason I go is not necessarily because of the Star Wars Celebration stuff, which just tends to be bullshit they're trying to sell you. I like to just hang out with people from the 501st in the bar because those guys know how to party.
Well, speaking of the 501st, a Hypergiver says, I know some guys in the 501st that could help with that. Wait, never mind. Their armor is better than what Disney Cruise has.
That's
Disney's
true.
Crew has.
And Rogue Disney also says 501 will show up.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. Hey, Rogue Disney. I love your.
Well, what's funny is Jay has told us before that whenever he goes to Disney with his Gina Carano shirt on, everybody always asks where he got it from. Oh. He's got a Cara Dune shirt. Yeah.
Wow.
It's so bizarre what they did to her. That's another thing.
I think that kind of brought some normies into this though, because that was when the first time I really had some people kind of asking about it. They're like, "Well, what's this business with this Carano lady or the lady from the Star Wars?" They'll say, and it's like, then you got to go into the whole explanation, and it's a rabbit hole to get down with people because
really is.
Yeah, they don't understand everything at first, and then you're like, really, and then they kind of, and I guess I've said this before too, where I've had. What I quote unquote normie friends too finally starting to come up to me and be like, well, this sucks and that sucks. Why does everything suck now? And then you tell them a while back and then they don't get it. But then now they'll come back to you now and go, I understand what you're saying now. Right. Mm-hmm. Like, and they'll come to me like almost every day. Why is everything so fucking woke? I get that from a lot of my normie friends now all the time. It's starting to spread. So hopefully,
even my mom, like, she's an old school feminist lady. Like I said, like she, wanted out of Iran and picked me up, single mom, left the country. And now she's like, what is with all the women and everything? Like, can we get something with men in it? Like she's over that. Like, she's just like, I don't understand why everything has to be a female lead now. And I'm like, tell me about it. That's my entire thought.
And then Rogues Retro didn't send a message, but just sent $5 Canadian. Thank you so much. Unless the message was retracted by the Google monsters. That does tend to happen sometimes. But we appreciate that just the same. But yeah, you're right, Nina. It's like they forget that sometimes women actually like to watch men do stuff too.
Yeah.
Men being men. Southbound 110 says, will 2022 be the year the woke agenda goes to pasture? Well, we're kind of just talking a little bit about that.
What do you think about that? Because
no.
Spider-Man did massive numbers. Is that something that the industry will be forced to reckon with or taken into account?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, they need a pattern. That's the other thing too. Like the industry needs a pattern, and if they're not going to be making stuff in the vein of what Spider-Man No Way Home was like, they're not going to see the data in the way that will steer them directly. They again, Hollywood doesn't really set trends. It's the indie side that sets trends by making their way into Hollywood with something new and fresh that everybody wants to get on board with. And it has to be so big and dominate the conversation for so long in order for people to get the message. And I don't know if Spider-Man No Way Home is going to dominate the conversation in the ways it used to, like 10, 15 years ago, where Avatar dominated the conversation for a year and 3D movies were all the rage. And before that, you had, like Starship Troopers and Star Wars coming back and You had Mission Impossible kind of stumbled around there. Like those things were, and then we had spy movies and action thrillers that were kind of ramping up. So yeah, it's really it's difficult to predict, especially now with how quickly people forget things. So I don't think 2022 will be the year. I think it's going to be more like 2024 is when we're going to see the most significant side of changes, because I think that's probably when it's going to finally hit. So
Mr. Indy, Chris Gore.
As I said, it's not like you had something to say, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do think the tide is turning. This is the first time where I kind of feel like normal people are noticing this, right? Like there is a, like, you know, Nina, your mother, like, why are women in everything? It's like, yeah, women like to watch men, right? Men being men and doing man things, right? Like that's, again, you know, there would be no Marvel Cinematic Universe without that Avengers, you know, without those topless male Avengers shots in
Andre proved the point the year before last when Rambo came out, and more women went to see Rambo than went to see Charlie's Angels that year.
Right.
That's a great point.
Yeah,
they sort of did a desexualized feminist like Charlie's Angels, and when they just tell the audience this movie isn't for you, then it's like, okay, I won't show up. But Spider-Man is proof that, one, you know, it's not necessarily people fearing going to the movie theaters. It's the product, right?
Yep.
It's the product. So that is debunked. And now it's like what you said, Script Doctor. There needs to be a pattern. There needs to be more non-woke content that is successful than woke stuff. There's that movie, it's coming out this week, called The 355, that looks so cringy. Have you seen the trailer for it? You probably don't even know about it.
No, it's the first time
I've never even heard of it.
It sounds familiar. It sounds like something that was talked about, I think, like 2 months ago.
It's a racially diverse group of women who are action. They're basically super spies from different countries. What's that?
Oh, it's the Jessica Chastain thing. Yes, I remember this.
Yeah.
Oh, now I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
But they lean so much into it. You don't need to. If you need to point out that, then it's just pointless. You know what I mean?
I'll tell you something I'm looking forward to that is not. It does not look woke, and it's already being super attacked for what it is, and that's The Northman with Alexander Skarsgård.
Yeah,
that is going to be a freaking.
That's going to be the movie of the freaking year. We're going to cover it here in detail.
Yes. Well, and I'm just waiting for. Like, I agree with you to a point, Script, but I think we're going to start seeing a little bit more sooner than later. But I mean, again, yeah, it's going to take at least 23, 24, 25 before it all goes away.
I'm with Script. I'm with Script and Utah. I think it's gonna take a little bit more time. Like,
but we're starting to see it. Like Cobra Kai to me was like a big splash in the face this last time watching. I don't know if any of you all have seen it besides me.
I finished it.
But like, yeah, I'm sure you'd probably pick it out as well as I did, Nina. There was quite a few points where they were literally just saying "fuck you" to woke culture in this season.
Yeah, there was, but there was also a little bit of like the other side, and that makes sense because they have balanced to work with it. Like, for example, and I'm sorry about the spoiler alert here. I mentioned this on Twitter today to Nerd Cookies about the little, like, the debate girl and how she, like, all of a sudden knew everything without barely any training, and she was like competing at such a high level. I was like, like, you know, it's not in line with their entire kind of like show to put that in there. I felt like it was very like outside of what they've been promoting this entire time. So there was a little bit like of here and there, in my opinion, of like, you know, intersection, you know, whatever. Like,
and then they had a counterpoint to that too, though.
Yeah, she was training for 6 weeks.
Yeah, I was gonna say she was training for a while, but yeah.
But 6 weeks to compete at such a high level in a thing that she barely.
How many other girls though were in the competition?
The first time that she went up against the whoever it was, I forget, it was Miguel or whoever it was. She already knew how to punch. Like, they didn't, like, she already knew how to kick. Like, that, no, that's gonna happen when you haven't had previous training in martial arts. You have to be told how to stand, you have to be told how to punch, you have to be told how to like hold your knuckles in a proper way so you don't break your hand. Like, there's a certain level of training that has to be done, and they didn't show any of that. Whereas in the previous seasons, they were like with Tori, they showed things with with the other girl, they showed things with Samantha. They showed her training. Not so much with this other girl. But I mean, I just feel like there has to be a balance.
We didn't
like,
show
yes,
a
they're
whole
doing a
lot
good
of
job.
training in this season though either, because they had the counter to that with the other girl that, well, let's just say the LGBTQ one who went to the other side.
Yeah,
they don't really show her getting trained either.
That was funny. I love that part where he's like, "Oh, I had to learn all this woke feminist shit, and it didn't even matter
for nothing." Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be all right. I'm awake. It's woke. Magician Sapphire says, "Happy New Year's, guys. Disney continues to impress just how badly they continue to bollock Star Wars." I mean,
well, to be fair, this is nothing new. This is like an old gift from Kathleen Kennedy that keeps on giving. It's going to keep on giving for a while.
And then Turo says Gina Carano as Mandalorian in Spaceballs sequel.
I'd watch that.
Yeah.
I'd watch that too.
I love Spaceballs.
No,
I can say completely unironically, Spaceballs is my Star Wars.
It is. I've heard the story, yeah. He saw Spaceballs before he saw Star Wars.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I mean, I didn't even know it was a parody of Star Wars when I saw it. Like, it only clicked for me when I was like 19 and I saw Star Wars the first time. I was like, oh, yeah.
And then Brian Paniagua, if I'm saying that right, Paniagua. I'm surely screwing that up, but I apologize, Brian. Paniagua? I know we've done this one a million times and I fucked it up. Going to start a GoFundMe so I can experience the diversity, representation, and inclusion of Disney Star Wars Cruiser. Hopefully Brie Larson will support me too. That's right. That's a good idea, Brian. I see where you're going with that. That's a very clever idea. I'm all for that. Put me down for a few bucks. I'll give you the $10 you just gave us back. How's that sound? Archangel's here and says self-inserts are a normal part of storytelling. Is this really a good thing to be critiquing Kathleen Kennedy versus creative choices? That's not a bad point, Archangel, but the difference.
Actually, I think it's like. I want to hear what Script has to say about this and all our guests, but to me, it's like we wouldn't criticize that if everything else was good. If everything else was good, then no one minds a little bit of self insert.
Not only that, that's the only thing that's consistent. That's the only thing that's like consistent throughout these things, aside from Mandalorian, right? Yeah. Is they all have a self insert version that is a lot like Kathleen Kennedy. And anyway,
well, I mean, the other part too is that it's other people taking the interpretation of Kathleen Kennedy and putting it into the work. Kathleen Kennedy is not really enough there to actually like sit down at a typewriter or a computer.
That's a good point, Script, because remember Leslie Headland's all like Queen Kathy.
Yeah. Again, like writers put parts of themselves into their work, and usually the goal is to take aspects or traits of yourself to apply to a character and explore them in an interesting way. The last thing you want to do is like a total self-insert, because we as human beings rarely like to accept and explore our own flaws. So as a result, if the character seems perfect, that's more of like the self-insert. But if a character is flawed and is trying to deal with something, that's more of an original take, so to speak. And sadly, with regards to, say, a character like Rey, who I'm struggling to figure out what her flaw is, aside from the fact that she just wants to stay on Jakku and wait for her kids, which I would hardly call as an interesting flaw, because movies are about pursuing something, not waiting for something. Yeah, I think that's a bad approach to any type of storytelling. But if you have an idea where it's like, I wish I was this person in this story, my only advice would be is make sure you explore a flaw so that we actually can feel connected to this character, and so they don't feel so divorced from the rest of the universe, because that's the worst thing you can have, is the universe bending itself to fit the parameters of your character, as opposed to the character trying to find a way to balance themselves within their own universe.
Chris, anything to add or subtract from that?
I think no. I'm just as frustrated as everybody else about. But I think that there is more normal people waking up when you see. Look, I saw Spider-Man. I actually saw Spider-Man in San Diego with Gary Beekler of Neurotic. He had a meetup down there, packed. I haven't seen lines like that at a movie theater since the before times, right? Like it was packed, and nobody cared. Everybody was just like, let's just get back to normal life, right? So the problem is I like Script Doctor pointed out earlier, there needs to be a track record of where you can actually point and say stuff that is more generally or certain, because I think woke stuff is always going to be in everything, right? At this point, it's just culturally, it's a thing that's there. But I almost think that, like, just a quick aside, like I was looking, because I'm working on a weird project right now. I'm looking at photos of myself from the 90s and what I wore clothes wise, and I look like a fucking idiot. I look like a moron. And I'm embarrassed for myself. And I just wonder if this generation coming up are going to look back on their views and kind of their clothes and the way that and are they going to look back with the same kind of cringe that I look back on photos of myself?
I fucking hope so. I really
go like,
do.
oh my God, I went through a period. I mean, I was wearing parachute pants. No one knows what those are.
I know, right? Oh, tell me about. I know. I got into this conversation one day with somebody. I'm like, at least the '80s kids, they got a lot going for them. In the '70s, they had the fashion. '60s, even still to a point, there was some cringe out of that shit. But us kids in the '90s, we got no fucking excuse.
But I just wonder. I wonder if 20 years.
How were you guys wearing? Like, the worst I had in the '90s were like the '90s streetwear.
Oh fuck, we had Stonewatch shit. We had parachute shit. Oh my God, windbreaker shit. Like, I know what Chris is talking about. We wore some of the most obnoxiously bad clothing in the 90s.
It was bad.
I remember like wearing a fanny pack in the 90s, and I got bullied.
That's a perfect example.
I got bullied for wearing a fanny pack that to this, like, now the fanny packs are back. And like I went to the mall with my friend. She was like, let's get this fanny pack. And I was like, hell no, I'm not wearing a freaking fanny pack. She was like, they're in now. And I'm like, no, like I got freaking traumatized for wearing
folding jeans at the bottom and shit. Like, I mean,
no. Oh my God, like, yeah, it was so crazy. The 90s fashion.
We had some of the dumbest fashion ideas ever in the 90s. Sorry, Chris, you were correct.
No, it's fine. But what my point is that, like, look, we all, when we were growing up, when you're kind of figuring out you're trying to figure out your fashion style, whatever. And I was never, on trend. If there was a trend, I was 4 years behind it. You know what I mean? Like, it was never important to me. But I look back and it's like, oh, I look like an idiot. But I wonder if people, and I'm specifically speaking about the TikTok generation, and you're seeing this sort of like, just the vast amount of mental illness, whether it's people struggling with their identity or, the clothes they wear, how they see themselves, or even just having a normal relationship, whether that relationship is heterosexual, homosexual, whatever, just a loving relationship that has intimacy. I feel like this generation is just lost. Are they going to look at themselves 10, 20 years from now and go, I was an idiot. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just hopping on what the trend was. And I
really hope so, because that means that they will have found their way. And if they don't look back upon that, then they're still lost.
Because I have friends who argue with people on Twitter, and I don't really use Twitter for that. I don't care about Twitter. I use Twitter specifically to promote whatever it is I'm doing, and almost nothing else. Occasionally I'll throw out like a little thing, like, I posted a thing from Star Wars and I just said living in fear is a choice. And just to kind of like wake people up a little bit, but it's sort of pointless to spend that time arguing with people that you don't even know if you're arguing with a real human or someone who's 11 years old, right? Like it's ridiculous. So,
or it's someone who like it's like an 11-year-old in a giant person's body, because most people like they're
tell
like,
me about it. Yeah,
they're all just freaking arrested in development, and they don't even know what to do. It's crazy.
Well, this generation is so turned inward, right? And this thing we've dealt with in the past few years here has made it even worse, if you ask me.
Like, have you guys seen like the freaking Scott Adams's Twitter feed? I'm just like, dude, just go away. Like, no.
Well, I mean, just look at the all I got to do is just drop something like Miles Morales isn't Spider-Man, and it just sends them into a fucking tizzy.
Dude, Chris Gore started a shitstorm with that tweet about like movies having to be a certain length, and then Script Doctor put like just one comment.
First of all, I didn't mean to. I was just like tired of movies that look, my whole point of that comment, and I didn't elaborate.
All I can think about is what the
I
fuck
don't
did
care.
Chris just watch that was so bad? That's all I can
Well,
think of.
like all these movies are 2 hours and 30 minutes, but let me just say this: it's not earned. I
agree.
was one of the people who saw Eternals at the theater. It was 2 hours and 40 minutes. It was not earned. It used to be that movies, you know, your dramas, actions were 2 hours, comedies were 90 minutes, and that was it. Documentaries are 90 minutes. We've gotten fast and loose, probably because of streaming and also because of bad decision making at the top. But it was a point of pride for like Lucas and Spielberg in the early days. They made movies 2 hours, right? And you had to kill your babies. So yeah, I started a shitstorm with that. Also, I don't even think I noticed until like later. It's like, oh, people are really mad about this. And people were calling me out who gives a fuck? You know,
I think more people were mad at Script Doctor.
I was gonna say that's the Script Doctor stepped out in front of you and started bitch slapping people is why.
Yeah.
Script Doctor, what did you do? I'm sorry, I didn't even notice my own.
Oh, he just sat down and broke down like
I gave the general times.
Yeah, the industry
the
standard from back in the day. Yeah.
And the fact that the directors that, you know, exceeded those times, they earned that time by practice, by either doing short films, television, and so forth, and other features, so that they could understand the pacing and the value of the time of a film. And then they start actually supporting me by way of trying to insult me by saying like, oh yeah, you know, Peter Jackson. It's like, yeah, he did like, you know, 6 movies first and a lot of short films in order to be able to understand the pacing of you know, for Lord of the Rings. I mean,
he was even compromised on those, and people didn't even stop to think of that. It's like there's a reason the extended cuts exist, because the studio said you may not exceed X amount of time. You can do these special versions on DVD, but yeah.
I think the other part to also consider is that Judd Apatow is the biggest criminal when it comes to exceeding the lengths of a comedy, because he started it really with the 2-hour comedies with like everything he did. And I don't think he's a very good comedian at all.
Can you
I
name
think he's
an
way
example
overrated. I
of
think
his
he's
movies?
sponged
I don't
enough
know.
off of Adam Sandler's popularity in the 90s to give himself a career that he doesn't really
40-Year-Old
deserve.
Virgin, Funny People, which is
okay.
really like 2 movies in one.
This is 40.
This is 40.
Knocked Up.
I only like the 40-year-old version.
That's the thing. His script's 100% correct, and all his extended versions are even worse.
Yeah.
Oh God, there's a like extended version for Knocked Up. Gross.
Yes, and almost every one of his movies has an extended cut.
Yeah, he's the type of guy who, as a comedian, didn't realize that you have that when you start out with your sets, you have between 2 and 4 minutes, and then you got to get the heck off stage. But he's the type of guy that would stay up there for 10 minutes, and you know the red light that's at Yuck Yucks blinking in your face, telling you to get off, you just ignore, because that's who he was, and he transitioned that over to film. And did not bode well.
He's the one we have to thank for fucking Seth Rogen.
He helped with, well, I mean, yeah, he helped a little bit with Seth Rogen because he did Freaks and Geeks, and that transitioned into.
I did love Freaks and Geeks.
Freaks and Geeks was
Paul
good.
Feig worked on that too, by the way.
Freaks and Geeks was actually fantastic. Like, don't diss Freaks and Geeks, even though the people working on it were,
proto woke.
They didn't age well. Let's put it that way.
That is true.
Yeah, Freaks and Geeks aged better than they did.
They did. It does, because I just recently watched it and I thought it was a really great show. I was actually sad it ended. I was like,
well, it was like a parallel to the Wonder Years, because it took place in the 80s, and it was a period piece, but it had an aspect of drama to it that I think a lot of people, when they actually got over that part, loved it, but the more normal audiences did not. Because I remember talking with, because I'm very familiar with some of the cast there. I'm friends with some of them. And they were talking about like, yeah, it was a great show to work on, but we were getting live reports of the ratings, and it just, we were popular with people that watched it, but not enough people watched it to warrant it to keep going on, and they were disappointed when it ended.
It was so great. I mean, just also because of all the Michigan references, because I'm from Michigan originally, and it was, I mean, that began the careers of so many people. But this whole thing of movies being, you know, you can always have the deleted scenes. You can always do an extended cut later. That's fine. But for a theatrical experience, I will actually look at stuff. And this happens to me on Netflix, where it's just like, oh, this looks like a good documentary. Wait, it's 6 episodes, 50 minutes each. Like, I don't need, can I just get a 90-minute?
I had the same experience with the Justice League, Chris.
Yeah,
I was like, yeah, it's great that Zach finally got to tell his story, but you know what? I honestly would have liked to have seen a theatrical cut of his version.
I think a theatrical cut of that at 3 hours, because it is an epic, would be amazing. There's
exactly.
So
you could do it in solid 2 hours with
2:45 even.
I mean,
just take out like 2 hours of slow-mo. That's all.
That's why you have the time limit. It's basically say only the most important stuff makes it to screen.
Right.
That's it. That's why you have the time limit.
There are a lot of editors. Have you ever heard of the Phantom Edit? The group of editors who re-edited episode 1 and actually improved it as best as you
Grace
could.
Did his own trilogy edit.
Yeah, I'd love to see, like, I keep saying, like, somebody should do like a Godfather 2 cut of the prequels in the original trilogy, where you sort of combine the stories of Anakin and Luke and sort of, contrast.
I'm sure it exists.
Well, I would like it. I'm trying to make it exist right now by talking about it. So
if it doesn't already, it does.
Yeah, I mean, just like, please, internet, if that exists, let me know if it already exists. But Godfather 2 was just so amazing to see the story of Vito and Michael Corleone, and each of them making kind of different choices on different timelines. I'd love to see, because the prequels, I think, have aged actually pretty well. I mean, there's so many lines from the prequels that are quotable. There's so many sequences, that actually are more relevant today than they were when George Lucas originally made it, about, a democracy becoming more authoritarian. Like
they just missed the linchpin, basically. Like, why are the planets separating? We never get a definitive answer to that.
I think he wanted to leave it vague, but I do also, if you know about Lucas, I mean, he loves history. He loves
history and cars. Yeah.
I was going to say the story was never so much the problem with me. It was just how it was constructed, and then just his inability to like ignore the fact that he could, put a bunch of talking rabbits in a movie. Like, that was my other problem. And when I'm falling asleep during the pod race, that tells me something.
Right. Well, the problem is,
but no, you're right. They have aged a lot better. Trust me. Yeah, I agree with you there.
The problem with the pod race was there were no stakes, right? First of all, we knew Anakin wasn't going to die. So what are the stakes? So I think that's an important thing. And Lucas used to be more cognizant of that. When you've the book that I recommend, is The Secret History of Star Wars. Don't read the book, get the audio book, because the guy who reads it does everybody's voice. He's a voice actor. It's incredible. The Secret History of Star Wars. But he talked about, like, in the lightsaber battle between Luke and Darth in Empire Strikes Back, he thought there are no stakes in this, because you're not going to kill off the lead character. He's not going to kill Luke. So what are the stakes? And the stakes are, will Luke turn to the dark side? Will he be tempted by Darth Vader to go to the dark? And that is actually something that the audience could see happening, but he didn't believe that the audience would believe that you'd ever put Luke in any sort of peril. So those kinds of stakes, and Script Doctor, you can probably speak more eloquently about this than I can, that's important to lay out what are the stakes. And that's why the pod race, while it's like, viscerally and like as like an action sequence, it looks great. There's no stakes. There's no drama in that, so.
We didn't get a good sense of urgency in The Phantom Menace with regards to what is going on. Like, right now we have Naboo is occupied by the Trade Federation, and we get one person claiming that they're killing people, but we don't see that. So we don't know if it's a ploy, if it's a fake hologram or anything of that nature. And we don't get a sense of the need to do this now. So even if they're like, yeah, we're stuck on Tatooine, and because there's no ticking clock saying we have to get off by like this time if we want to make it to Coruscant and try and rally people to come liberate Naboo and all that stuff, and it's all predicated on getting an engine based off the winnings of a pod race, then you've got kind of stakes. And the other part too is that you could say it can go either way, because if they fail, well, they're stuck on Tatooine, and then Qui-Gon continues to train Anakin until the next thing happens or something of that nature. But now they have to have it at the sacrifice of another planet, and maybe there'd be resentment with Queen Amidala because the kid who they put all their stakes on failed. I mean, those are type of dramatic stakes that you have to explore. But again, we don't get that in much at all in the prequel trilogy, unfortunately. Because the direction that they took for it, even though it hits the beats of what's needed to get to our original trilogy, the direction and the execution of what they took was really just had the wind taken out of their sails, because
that's where George needed somebody just kind of help him structurally. Like,
he didn't have the people necessary to help get him to come to terms with with his own creation.
A lot of great
"You know what?
ideas,
Gotta
just
stop
nobody there to
here."
help him put it in order, right? Like,
Well, he was too cheap to work with the Writers Guild, is what it was, right?
There's that.
well, there's
No, I'm
that.
serious.
Kicked out of the Directors Guild, so he had some resentment there. And the other
Well,
part
no,
too is he
you
wasted the
see
Clone
it in
Well,
Wars.
he wouldn't pay that fine for Empire Strikes
Well,
Back.
yeah, but you see, I thought he did pay the fine.
He did pay it, but he didn't want to pay it. But the Directors Guild
he
didn't like the
dropped
fact
out,
that
yeah.
Lucas paid it and not Kirshner. And so they kind of had like a divorce, so to speak, because at that point there was talks for either Kirshner coming back for Return of the Jedi or Steven Spielberg coming in to do it. And both of them didn't know at that point what they were going to do, because the DGA was, which is very different nowadays, but back in the 80s was really, really, really stingy about certain things.
Can I tell you what my retool of the ending of Phantom Menace, what I would have done?
Sure.
I would the scene in which, you know, they're doing that giant celebration on Naboo, and you've got the Gungans and the people of Naboo kind of united now that they've defeated, you know, the Trade Federation. As Boss Noss is raising that little glowy cube, say something like, you know, and in celebration of our peoples coming together, we're renaming the planet Alderaan.
Yeah,
which I think would have been that would have just been a bit more interesting, as
or it
like
should have been Alderaan to begin with, but yeah,
it should have been Alderaan. Why isn't it Alderaan? Like, you know, that would
well,
have
and I
made...
get why George, because at that time he's thinking, oh, I want to show people new places and stuff, but then he takes us right.
We
back
haven't
to
seen
Tatooine.
Alderaan before, only from orbit.
I know, and he just like
still to this day, Tatooine is in you know, everything, and we still have never seen Alderaan.
And again, that's where I think George just really needed somebody to kind of just help.
I don't mind that though. I personally don't mind that, because I feel like that it makes the universe more expansive than having the same different kinds of planets. I think it's more like, you know, it makes it
which
a
is
more...
fine until he takes us right back to Tatooine. That's what I was joking about.
Yeah.
But we do have like an hour. We're like an hour behind on super chats here, so I'm going to try and get to some of these. I apologize to all those who've been patient, like Rod Thunderheart, who says, "Hail Midnight's Edge in the morning. Disney's biggest problem is that nobody wants to pay George Lucas that extra 20% for their Star Wars properties. Well, we don't know how much exactly it is, but yeah, I'm sure that's part of it. Or any other creator that actually created something that they have to pay for. That is a big deal to them, I'm sure. But I don't know if that's really the main reason for it, besides just pure stupidity.
That's one issue. There are many others.
Right.
That's not the main one.
But no, I'm sure that plays into it. Dash Attack says Grogu as the new chosen one would be great, but in the sequel trilogy. But hey, Chapek the good guy. No offense to Cameron, I just need to see more pro fan moves. I'm not in disagreement with you, Dash Attack. I'm not so sure that everything is as hunky dory as we want it to be over at Disney. But yeah.
By the way, real quick,
yeah, sure, go for it.
Because Dash Attack's super chat is on the screen right now. Mexican Iron Man accidentally hid him from the channel.
Oh no!
That has been rectified, so it's okay now, because Mexican Iron Man also super chatted $10 telling you guys that he did that. So thank you, Mexican Iron Man. Yeah, by accident. Thank you so much for the super chat. It's been fixed, so Dash Attack, it should be good to go now.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, well, if not, then let me know and I'll fix it here behind the scenes.
I think as long as we can catch it on screen, we can fix it. Yeah, I was gonna say, then you don't have to actually go back and do it, as long as we can catch it. But sorry about that. Yeah, it happens, especially when somebody like puts their phone in their pocket or something.
Yeah, he said he dropped his phone by accident.
And it's a lot easier than you'd think on your phone to block somebody, which is really stupid. They need to fix
I don't know how many people have accidentally been blocked because either like you hit the wrong person when the chat has moved, or from stupid because the phone fell down or something. Yeah,
we had a mod one time. I'm not going to say any names because I don't want to embarrass this individual, but they had done that. They put their phone in their pocket, and all of a sudden, like almost everybody in the chat started getting timed out, and we couldn't figure out what the hell was going on.
That's so funny.
Yeah, that's what it was. Is they accidentally put their phone in their pocket with the screen still on.
It's like a bot dial, but like
it is. But that's the thing is all you got to do is, because like even if you accidentally just bump the person's name, the first option that's right there under your thumb is to block or whatever. And it's like, that is a dumb move, YouTube. But anyway, 52 movies a year says Disney treats Star Wars like they're trying to make a cheap copy of something they don't own. This is very true. And I think that's what Marshall Lucas was kind of getting at too.
True. That's so true. And so sad. Like, what's weird is that when I think of like what my imagination of what the sequel trilogy could have been, and then what we ended up with is just it's so disheartening. I think any one of us, at least in our mind's eye, could have come up with something better than what we got. It's sad.
Well, and I hate being the guy saying, well, yeah, that, and then be like, well, yeah, you're just upset because you didn't get what you wanted. It's like, it's not so much that, it's just like literally a 5-year-old could have come up with a better scenario than what we got. Like, it's like, you didn't have to try too hard. It really wasn't. Like, even with the flaws that The Force Awakens have, it wasn't broken yet. Right?
That's why my theory is still that the old school Trekkies that hated Star Wars actually infiltrated and then made that story because they wanted to destroy Star Wars. That was a war.
If I could believe that Kathleen Kennedy was some sort of Star Trek fan, I'd believe you, Nina, but she's not that smart.
I know, but I feel like that's happened though.
And I think they do a better job of it.
They hate it, man. I'm telling you, they hate the IP. Whoever it is, they like really hated the IP, and they were like, you know what, we're gonna destroy.
That does sound like Kathleen Kennedy.
That part's true, yeah. It's mainly it's just a lot of it just stems from this mentality that if it was made by a white male or if it's starring a white male, they have to deconstruct it. That is the pattern. That is the only consistent pattern, and that takes us back to the whole DC stuff.
I was just gonna say that, Tom.
That
we saw what happened with Superman,
right? Like, he's an alien for fuck's sake. And you can't even have him be
Andre, did you see that comic strip that's going around of Superman?
Yeah, we actually brought that up.
Where basically he is being, how can we put this?
Tortured?
How he is...
No, I would go beyond tortured. I would say assaulted in prison.
Yeah. That's a form of torture.
Physically assaulted in a way that would want you to show them on the doll where they touched you.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean.
You got a prison colonoscopy.
He's being manhandled in prison.
Yes.
How is that even like? Could you even recommend to anyone to read DC Comics now?
Well, what's hilarious?
Have you been able to do that for the past few years?
Not to cut you off, Chris, but the hilarity of it is that it took 8 months for somebody to discover this. That's how many people are not reading DC Comics.
Yeah, I heard it was 10 months.
Is it 10? Okay.
10 months, yeah.
I thought around and no one noticed. Oh my God.
I thought the story was he was in prison for 8 months. The comic just debuted a little while ago.
No, apparently the comic came out 10 months ago. And
that's what I was going to say. No, this comic's been out for a while. Script, I learned, I guess.
Oh man,
it's like nobody's reading DC Comics. Nobody knew until somebody was like, "Wait a minute, what the hell is this?"
But evidently, for the context, in Superman's in prison. I don't remember how come he doesn't have his powers now, but he basically explains without saying it in so many words that every day in prison they would tie him down and assault him.
Yeah, I have the picture if you want me to share.
Sure, if you want to. I don't care. It's up to Andre.
So this is go for it. Who is writing this stuff?
Yeah, well, let's bring it up. If Chris, you haven't seen it, then it's
I have seen it. I saw Ryan Cannell's video about it, and it was sickening to me. Is this written by people who like this character? Is this
no?
No, they hate him. This is what I'm talking about. These are the people that hate the IP that they work on, and they try to destroy it. And this is exactly what's happening with Star Wars too.
That hold Superman in such esteem that they see fit to tie him down and do things to his butt.
I mean, this is just
they did this because they know that this is the reaction they would get for it.
They were sorely disappointed because it took 8 months. Imagine how excited they were. They think, oh, we're going to be on Friday Night Tights, like Midnight's Edge going to do a video about it. Nothing for 8 months.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you want me to read the little lines here?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it doesn't say anything overt, so you might as well.
No, it doesn't. It says every day.
And that makes it worse.
Drag me into the interview room, in quotes. Every day they would, restrain me in a way that left me exposed and vulnerable. And every day for 8 months, they did things to me. They did things to me while I was forced to look at him. I guess it's Nikola Koslov, the commander of the, what is this? Shevra something. The devil, sorry, the writing is really small. The devil of the Lubania. A man who single-handedly caused the deaths of thousands of people simply because no one cared enough to stop him. Eventually, with Batman's help, I escaped. Oh, well, thankfully, Batman helped him out. The camp, but in all these years, I've never been free of it or of Kozlov. And it just goes on, blah, blah, blah. Who cares?
Yeah.
But that was basically the main.
Who's writing this?
I don't know. I don't know what issues this is from.
I think
series
Jane
was this?
Theory did a video on this about who it was by. Let me see.
Sure, it's not Tom King.
Well, we can't be sure. I mean,
It's called thanks to Jane Theory. Shout out to her.
Thank you, Jane.
Superman is tortured
Thanks,
and
Jane.
abused in John Ridley's Red and Blue issue #1. That's what it's called.
Thank you, Jane.
and this apparently is not a very sought after collector's item because evidently there must be a million copies because no one bought it.
No, nobody cared. But this is
Nobody
why,
cared.
though. This shows why people are not buying DC Comics because of this. They're sick and tired of seeing their heroes being destroyed. I mean, why would you buy something like this? It's insane.
Well, I'm getting to the point where we almost need to counter. Like before, I used to say like I don't want to see, the other side of it either in my entertainment. But I'm starting to get to that point, right? Like I'm starting to get to the point where I want to see stuff like with Cobra Kai, where we have characters that are not afraid to be masculine and macho and don't give a fuck what other people think about them.
Yeah, but it's not gratuitous in the same nature as
Exactly.
what's happening on this side. Yeah.
No, I'm saying to the point we should start getting gratuitous. Fuck it. Like that's
no,
where I'm
then
at.
it's going to go out of hand because there's no discipline
care.
when as soon as you start getting
I don't care.
gratuitous.
There is no discipline now, script. We can't get past
Well,
this.
they're good. But the thing is, on the other side, they are gratuitous. That's the problem.
I'm not
Yeah,
disagreeing
you
with
can't
but
fight fire with fire, man. Everything will
No, you
burn
need
down.
water and sand, and you have to take the air out of the room.
Yeah, but we've been doing that for 5-6 years now, and it ain't working.
Not really. I mean, it's been very subtly done. Like it's basically, it seems more like the opposite side is kind of observing, learning the tactics and the moves. Kind of like what was going on with season 4 of Cobra Kai. And then once they find the predictive moves and understand the attacks, then you can counter and smack it down without having to compromise your own values.
You better be right. Joker Voice says.
Well, otherwise you're on this pendulum swinging back and forth dramatically, and you're never going to find a balance in the middle.
And I know that's why I always used to feel that way, but I'm getting to that point where
The
fire
dark
with
side
fire
clouds everything.
Yeah,
Tom.
it sounds like it's a little bit more like the only thing that's going to work. But Joker Voice sends in $5, and thank you for being a member as well. Says, I know I'm in the minority, but with the new regime at the top of Disney, I have the one thing rebellions are built on: hope. Happy New Year. Well, hopefully things will
Hope springs
change.
eternal, and I agree. Like
Yes.
never lose hope.
And my chat just like totally froze up on me. Like everything just, whoa, hello.
Fantastic.
Oh no.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
We can hear
Yeah,
you.
yeah, we hear you.
Okay. Like everything just, okay, it's back now, but like, yeah.
Okay,
everything just went
okay. Yeah,
wacky.
no, you never disappeared from the stream.
Okay, good. Everything went wackadoo on me. So I was like, what the fuck?
Okay, let me know, and I'll get to the repository.
The next one we have
I'll
is
see
Master
if it's
Clockwork here with the last Star Wars film was 2005. I'm not counting the Clone Wars pilot from 2008. And Disney Star Wars is an alternate timeline as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, I'm with you there.
I'm
I
with
actually
you.
went to see that Clone Wars movie in the theater with like 1 or 2 other people. I was like, wow. That was a pretty bad movie though.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's not representative of the series overall, so don't everybody start attacking me.
It kind of is.
I know some people love it to death, though. Lupu sends in 20 Mexican dollars and says DC is trying to reach the redo of Healer demo.
I don't know what that is.
I've heard of it.
Wait, what was that? Can you repeat that?
DC is trying to reach the redo of Healer demo.
Oh, redo of Healer is
It's an
a
anime,
really
yeah.
graphic anime that
Yeah.
talks about
So
bad,
is
bad
demo for
things happening to people.
demographic, not like a game?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I still don't know.
like they're trying to get to the weirdo perverts that like to see that kind of stuff happen to characters.
Oh.
That could be a small part of it, but a big part of it is just to say fuck you. Because they've actually admitted this shit at this point.
I think it's more of a fuck you.
It is.
than
They've
anything else.
actually admitted it to this point. They're doing it on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So, Warwolf says, Wokus, who's writing these comics? Well, we got the answer for that, and thanks to Jane Theory anyway. But yeah, there's your answer for that business. And I think we're getting closer now. We're getting a little closer, guys. And we are caught up. I think that was the last one. Did we miss anything? Anybody, please let us know in the chat if we did.
I think there was a members
There's a
chat.
members chat. Yes. Thank you for reminding me. Duroan says, yay, 9 months. He was an edgelord for 9 months. Thank you for that. Hi, host, guest, chat, and wrenches. Well, hello, Duroan. And then we had a couple more come in here.
We have missed quite a few here.
Did we? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
It jumped on me, so it's very plausible.
Yeah. No, we lost
something happened on my end, so that's why I asked. But I'll grab this one and the next one, then we'll go back. Dash Attack says, read Naruto, read MHA, read Full Metal Alchemist. Manga was better than comics, though Boruto already ruined Naruto by killing old characters. Well, there's that problem. But there you go. And I know Nina's probably the bigger of the anime fans and stuff like that, manga fans here on the panel.
Yeah, I love Full Metal Alchemist because it's it's great and it has an ending and it's a wonderful series. Naruto, I'll never read. I'm just gonna say it out loud. I'm never reading it. It's too much. There's too much.
Imagine that the woman on the panel knows more about this stuff than the men.
I'm not doing it. I don't even know what Boruto is. So
sounds like a sequel to Naruto.
Yeah, sounds like it because that thing is never ending. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
Full Metal Alchemist, man. I mean, that's also a great anime. If you guys haven't seen it, check that out. Full Metal Alchemist, especially the Brotherhood one, is really good.
Yes, indeed. Nina knows that stuff. I don't. This says there was a time when Sega was messing up on Sonic that were considering XXX fan fiction stories for their games. After that, they got better. Andre, do you want to comment on this at all?
I haven't really played any Sonic games since Sonic 3, and then I skipped straight to Sonic Mania with a little pit stop in Sonic Generations. So I missed all of that. What I will say on all things Sonic, though, it's for writing Sonic. For those that haven't seen it, we have 3 interviews with Ken Penders that you'll find in the Star Interviews playlist. And if you're into Sonic and you haven't seen those yet, you definitely want to check those out.
And before we get into the newer super chats, let's go back to the ones that we missed. Besides, we had this member chat from Larry, who's been a member for 8 months at the Viking level and says 8 months and proud to be here. Well, thank you, Larry.
Fantastic. Grateful to have you here.
Larry. Good to
please,
see
you. We're going to go back now. Andre, please.
Yes, I'm working on it because it hasn't jumped on me so much. So I think I can bring them up on screen. And if that fails, we always have the repository. Galliot Productions wonders for $2. When will your Mikey Sutton DC episode premiere? Well, it won't actually premiere because it's going to be live just like now. Actually, it's going to be this exact show, but on Wednesday. So not today, but on Wednesday. So same time as we started today. That's 9 a.m. Pacific time and 6 p.m. Central European time. That's 5 p.m. UK time. And for all other time zones, you do the math. But that time on Wednesday. So in 2 days from now.
For all other time zones, please do your own math. Thank you.
There's so many time zones.
I get it, man. I get it.
So many time zones. So yeah. And then I'm going back here so that we can bring them up on screen because that would be the best. Here is the one you were referring to, Mexican Idleman saying for $9.99. Dropped his phone. I'm did not dash attack. Please fix, and that's all right now.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
That's why I knew something was up. I'm like, there's no way I jumped that far ahead.
Yeah, no, it jumped like an hour on you. So we have loads of super chats. But
whatever that glitch did, that's what happened. Yeah.
Which, by the way, thank you everyone for your generosity. It's so lovely to see the support for Midnight's Edge. So thank you, everyone.
Yes, indeed. It's part of what allows us to keep our doors open. T-Neil89 says, lies and hearsay. Andre was never a child. He was assembled in a facility made in secret by Intel as a contingency for some unknown purpose. So I guess they didn't buy my story about having grown up with Spaceballs then.
No.
And 200 Watt Studios is for $2. Only fanny pack I have is constipation.
Oh my God.
Oh boy.
Hey, 200
A
watts.
little too literal.
Wow.
Yeah. And Sean Carter says for $5, Tom and Chris, how much Drakkar Noir did you wear?
Oh Lord.
This must be some 90s fashion that I'm unfamiliar with.
Yeah, I wasn't that cool. That sounds way too cool above my station. I was more about going to Value Village to get a suit. But yeah, I never wore that. But I did. I think
I don't know what that is, so I just Googled it, but it's a cologne.
Yeah.
I never wore it. But I think I did have a members only jacket.
Oh, we all did.
So everybody had, I mean, they seemed, you know what? You know why I had it? Because it kind of looked like Luke's, jacket from Empire Strikes Back.
Had to be Star Wars.
Kinda, because it had the epaulets, but like, yeah, I never had the Drakkar Noir.
I got mine because of mouth.
I was uncool in many ways back then. So there you are.
Well, members only jackets were everywhere then.
That's true.
Oops, sorry about that, Andre.
Well, that's all right. You to take that, and we can do a little bit.
Okay, Cinema Journal sent in one more recently and said, I think fans have some culpability in this shift of DC. We bought into the aesthetic of Alan Moore and Nolan, and now our heroes are dragged to earth, mortal, lacking in light and virtue. You're not
Don't
wrong.
forget Frank Miller. Frank Miller started it all with the Dark Knight Returns in the 80s, and that had a counter influence on comics for the 90s and the aesthetics of reality being injected into it in a far more grittier tone than what was required. I still think the best run for a lot of DC comics was late 60s all the way through the 70s. That's probably its peak.
Certain characters lend themselves to that, others don't, but you're right, Cinema Journal. I agree with you.
Yeah. And then Warwolf says, Hollywood fears people turning on wokeism.
Good.
Yeah, well, their fears are about to become real. And then EVA Unit 4A says for $5, Neon Genesis Evangelion. And all movies are nothing but a massive self-insert for series creator Hideaki Anno. Yet fans don't care. That can't work. No, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Well, you got to make it relatable.
People don't mind fan inserts as long as the rest is good. It's when it's not good that it sticks out more.
Well, that's the thing.
One example from literature. Read anything by Lovecraft. All the point of view characters are thinly veiled versions of himself.
Mm-hmm.
And they're honest takes too. That's the other part. They're not. Yeah. Sorry, Chris, go ahead.
Chris, can totally work. I was going to say, I mean, look, the character of Luke, from George Lucas, right? But one of my favorite ones is if you look at characters by filmmakers like David Lynch or David Cronenberg, they seem to always choose actors that have the same hairstyle.
Sam Raimi too.
Sam Raimi too, yeah. If you go back and look at especially David Lynch, God, we did a thing on it in Film Threat where we were taking the directors, their hairstyles, and the actors they chose to be, effectively kind of their doppelgangers, in the movie, Kyle MacLachlan in both Dune and Blue Velvet. It's just really funny. It's oh, that's David Lynch's haircut.
That's funny. I never thought about that.
And then Eraserhead.
I don't know if Memento was quite. I don't know.
Yeah, but when you notice that, you can't unsee it. But the self-insert where it's so obvious, it's just, it's not creative. It's one thing. It's okay, this character has the same hairstyle or whatever. But there are a lot of aspects of David Lynch in, for example, Twin Peaks.
Mm-hmm.
There's a really good documentary on YouTube you can find about the making of Twin Peaks, and a great extra where I think it's actually just on YouTube, where it's David Lynch talking to Kyle MacLachlan at the Bigfoot Lodge at this bar in LA, just talking about the making of Twin Peaks. It's a pretty amazing conversation.
I'll have to watch that because I love Twin Peaks. I haven't
Twin Peaks is so good for its time. And yeah, that's a guy that David Lynch learned how to work with the limitations and the restraints that the studio was putting on him, so that
Mm-hmm.
he had to kind of work around all the sort of subversive material was woven in a way that wasn't so obvious, you know. And it was great.
And I really like the revival too. I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Oh, the revival was great, but yeah, but subtlety is not something I think writers are capable of today. It's just, you know, on the nose, obvious bullshit like do better. You know, it's so it's so lazy. It so makes bad. It's sad and pathetic. It's like, to me, it's like high school creative writing class.
Absolutely.
It is.
It's worse than the high school creative writing
there's
class.
no nuance.
Over there, we had to make an effort for the grade. Okay, like there's nothing going on over here now. Like,
yeah, nothing.
No, yeah, I agree with you.
High school quality where the person that's grading you is a teacher that doesn't care, and you just swap in with producer, and then
there's that problem too. Yeah,
writers.
Yeah.
We also have some member chats here from Kit Kat, who says, after what Disney has done to us, the Schadenfreude is delicious. Yes, Sadie, I know. And then Jack McCarthy says, love the channel, guys. Happy to celebrate the new year and my 4-month membership here. Well, thank you, Jack.
Thank you so much.
Happy New Year.
And then back to classics.
Hyper Guyver 2 says for $5, it can take 3 to 5 years to train a first dan in karate. I trained for 2 and was a 3rd degree Roku Kyu. The CK series fast tracks everything unrealistically.
Yeah, exactly.
To a point, yeah.
That's also to a point with regards to the original Karate Kid. I mean, Daniel was only trained for what, like a summer?
6
Not
months
even
ish.
A few months
yeah,
before
barely.
the All Valley in December.
Weeks, seems like.
Yeah. And they didn't
actually
have
no, it was only a couple months. You're right, because he got jumped in October on Halloween.
Yep.
And that's when he decided to train him. So he was trained from November to December. Literally got like almost 2 months.
He got maybe like 6 weeks because it was
so
December.
That's kind of like
right?
Miyagi's thing, and that's what I was going to say is Miyagi's way of doing it is kind of fast tracked, but
it seemed less. What's it called though? Like even with like when the '80s movie, like they weren't doing like super crazy flips and like kicking like it was like a legit karate tournament where it was just like like they're just doing. I don't know, like just punching and whatever, like just regular karate. Whereas now they've added extra stuff to it. So you're like, is this person really learning all of this in like 1 month?
And I understand what you're saying, but like the one character, like she's in gymnastics first, so that like
gymnast.
Like plays into it and stuff like
that.
But
that totally one made more sense because she was an athlete versus the other one that was a debater.
Well, we didn't really get any background if maybe she'd been trained before it all in any other way. But you're right. I'm not going to disagree on that.
She did grow up on '80s movies, so she probably tried to mimic stuff.
That's funny.
You never know. I mean, but no, it's one of those things that I don't really. I don't worry about it too darn much.
I don't either because everything else is really great, but nothing is above criticism, in my opinion. Like you still have to be like, hey, they could have.
Oh yeah.
Just,
the junk.
It would be like years, like the Cobra Kai series would take as long as it has actually lasted in real life. That's kind of like would be necessary to get like the black belts and stuff like that. And get to the level where those characters are getting. Moving on.
Well, even Sean Kanan, who was probably one of the more advanced people in the films, who played Mike Barnes in the 3rd film, he was only a green belt.
Yeah.
I mean, Miyagi lies and tells everybody that Daniel's a black belt too. For that,
but the belt in Miyagi-Do is just to hold up your pants. So.
Yeah, exactly. And that's fair in a way, I guess. As long as like either you know it or you don't.
And I think
you're good or you're
in
not.
Real life, I think Zapka's like a yellow or something like that. But yeah.
And High Dragon Star says for $5, people just want a good story. Afterlife showed diversity better than most movies lately. Why cannot they support that style of writing? Chris, let's hear from you first. Why can't we have more movies like Ghostbusters Afterlife that are diverse without it being forced in your face?
Yeah, I think, just the idea of the forced diversity, you kind of know it when you see it. And when it's just sort of organic, like, Ghostbusters Afterlife, there was a female lead in that film and nobody pointed it out. The problem is like when Hollywood kind of points it out to you, like, hey, look at this. Aren't we cool? Because look, we have a black actor in this role. Nobody cares.
The movie was more than that, Chris. That was, I think, big part of it too.
Yeah, this was just an organic, great story, Ghostbusters Afterlife, right? Like, so I don't know. Yeah, I think it starts with a good story, but the problem is they're starting in the wrong place. They start with, we want a black female lead.
Yep.
And so, which I think is whatever, sure, maybe. I mean, in a lot of cases, like, directors have changed their mind and they've gender swapped just because, oh, that's interesting. We didn't think of that. That could make it more interesting. So the story has already been set and they'll gender swap a character after the fact, right? Like, which is fine, because then the screenplay, it's like, okay, well, that's an interesting choice, right? Like, no one was touting the diversity in the movie Alien 1979, Ridley Scott, right? Like, ooh, look,
because it's natural.
Look at the diversity. It's just part of it. What I liked about that first Alien is they're just part of the crew. There's no, like, the women are just, they're truck drivers in space, right? They're pilots. There's no mention made of, they're not having those conversations out loud because it's stupid. Even in the original Star Trek series, right? Like, we didn't have those conversations. So we're having this conversation now. Why? Because there's a hypersensitivity to it. And I think it defeats the purpose, So
no, I think you hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah, I just think it starts with a good story, and then if it makes sense to change the gender and or ethnicity of a character, fine. If it's a better actor, like, I think the best example of that is George Romero's 1968 black and white original Night of the Living Dead. He wrote that script and he cast a guy named Dwayne Jones to be the lead. He plays Ben in the film. And he's the smartest guy, right? Like, and when he was cast, black actor, the other filmmakers working on it were like, hey, are you going to change the script at all? And he said, no. It did add another layer, perhaps unintentional, in it, but he didn't change the script because of that. It wasn't written to be a, black hero. He was just the hero. And I
remember Romero's quote on that was, I didn't hire him because of that, even though I think he said something about the whole, like, adding an extra level. He's like, I only hired him because he was the best actor I knew.
He was the best actor. He was the best. He just was the best actor. And, like, I don't understand why this thinking doesn't prevail. And I think it's just because of, these sort of elites in Cameron can speak to this much better than I can, because he knows that crowd. I've met those people and I just find them fucking annoying, to be quite frank. So they always want to look like they're doing something amazing, like someone who would say contribute to a charity and then speak very loudly about it so everybody knows about it, and name a charity after themselves or a foundation or whatever, rather than just actually doing the work, right? Like, so
yeah, it's like the firefighter that sets the fire so that he can be the hero by putting it out.
Exactly. So I just think there's a generation that has this kind of thinking, and I don't know. There were other filmmakers that just sort of put it in the movie included things in movies and didn't call attention to it, which made it even more organic because it wasn't called attention to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hi, Dragon. I feel like I've let you down with this response. So my apologies.
No, I don't.
No, actually did a great job as far as.
All right, fine.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. Yeah, absolutely.
No, and I think the other part of Afterlife that helps, and I know Script will probably agree with me on this, is that, even though nepotism is one of those things in Hollywood that's rampant, Jason Reitman actually picked up some residual talent from his father.
Well, not only that, like, his nepotism in Hollywood, and I've heard this story directly from him, by way of, like, another friend, is that people didn't give him carte blanche because he was Ivan Reitman's kid. In fact, they kind of pitied him and were patronizing him as he was starting, because he'd make a short film, be like, "Oh, you made a short film, good for you, man. Keep trying." And that's the attitude he got from that, and that's kind of why he distances himself from even trying to do, like, big studio films, and said, "I'm just going to go indie and try and do things like my dad did." And
I wasn't a fan of Juno, but when I saw Thank You for
Juno's
Smoking,
Diablo
I'm like,
Cody and
yeah. But when I
That-
saw
that
Thank You
started
for
the whole
Smoking, I'm like, this guy has got what his dad had.
Yeah.
And even though it's kind of schmaltzy, I actually really like Up in the Air with George Clooney.
I like that movie
I don't know
too.
if I've seen that
movie
one
a lot.
I like it too.
If you lose a job or get fired from a job, that's the movie you just have to prescribe someone to see. You know,
It's
like
true.
just see that movie. It's actually, and I love the fact that he weaves in like real people. There are these interviews, this series of interviews in this opening sequence, and those are just real people. You know,
That was a
like,
great. I was very shocked that I like that.
Well, and
movie
I
so
know
much.
Nina wasn't as big of a fan of Afterlife, but I mean,
Yeah.
to me, I still felt like the characters were real, right? Like it felt like
Mhm.
real environments. If even
I
with
just
the-
wanted more of the OG
And
Tom.
I
There's
agree with
really
you.
nothing
You could-
else.
I
Like,
agree with you.
I
It
don't
could have been,
disagree
but-
about the movie. Like I think that the script was pretty good. Like other than that, like I just feel like with regards to like the woke and stuff like that, like I thought it was fine. Like it wasn't anything too bad
Yeah.
going on. I agree though. I think that there is some movies that like because there was a previous question that we talked about with regards to 2022. Will it be the year that are we going to see
Right.
better stuff like this, like Ghostbusters or Dune? Like I mean, I thought Dune was really well
Dune
done.
did it well too. Yeah.
So that I think there's stuff happening, and that's kind of like what Kamran's talking about too, is that like there is stuff happening in Hollywood. There is some people taking note about like there is this fatigue of woke media and stuff like that. So whether like let's see for example like how well Gina Carano's movie does, like with the Daily Wire. Like let's see, like these kind of things will have to come out and we'll see in time. I feel like it's a good direction that we're heading on, but let's see what happens. It's like we
I
just don't
agree.
know.
See, I said this like
Absolutely.
last night. I'm like, we're kind of in the same place we were in like the end of 2019 when like we really needed Rambo to like be a home run and it wasn't. Like we'd had a couple of hits there for a little bit, and then we keep running into this thing. And as successful as Ghostbusters was, I feel like if it had just made like another $100 million, that would have really started the dominoes, and Spider-Man would have been the next row of dominoes, and we've been getting quicker down that path. But we always seem to hit a hiccup because
Yeah,
like Afterlife just didn't do as well as it could have.
And that's why I tell people, like, if you are sick of woke media, like, stop going to movies for like Marvel movies and seeing like Eternals and stuff. Go see stuff like The Northman. Go see stuff that's indie or like is not
I'm sure Chris
commercialized
will
as
agree with you
much,
there, yeah.
so that you can like so that you can see that there is other movies being made other than big blockbuster studios that are trying to push this woke ideology, because the only thing that will matter at the end of the day is money. So if they're getting more money, if people are paying more money to watch indie movies and different kinds of movies, they'll take notice. They'll be like, okay, maybe we should
Well,
But
Chris
we
is
have a
always
lot
saying
more
things like
super
that,
chats
yeah.
to go through here, so I'm
Absolutely.
gonna move on here. EVA Unit 4A says on the matter of Afterlife, with deep regret, I skipped Afterlife and Dune in theaters because I won't put my family in danger out of my own impatience. I'll wait for the DVD, and that's your choice, and none of us are doctors and all that jazz.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then Danny V. Vapin says for $5, Hollywood makes no sense financially because power is the end goal. Totalitarianism is tiptoeing through the tulips, inching towards absolute power. Now, I wish I could say, nah, you're just being hysteric, but
Yeah, I wish I could.
But I will. I wish I could say that, but I won't.
Same here, Andre.
And then I just have to scroll a bit through to get to the next one here. Come on.
Well, while you're doing that, I'll read a member chat. We had a couple come in.
Yeah, do that in the meantime.
Darth Plato says, you can do better is nothing but gainsay. Any idiot can shout do better. Gainsaying is the easiest thing in the world to do. I saw it at Berkeley all the time, and it happened all the time. This is true. This is very true.
And then Primer said for $5, whenever a group of people act as Puritans who advocate for extreme censorship, they're probably guilty of far worse things and don't want to be exposed. Oh yeah, the projectionism or projecting is strong with these people.
And I love to think of the ones that are projecting the most probably have the most skeletons in their closet as well.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that's why there's a famous Shakespeare quote for that. Thou protest too much.
Yep.
Yeah. And Kung Fu Hot Dog says for £5, hail Jensen, lovely Nina. Cassandra Peterson and Liz Hurley don't have a problem showing off their attributes. Good for them. Chris Gore, love you, man.
Well, neither does someone like Salma Hayek. That's why it's really, really weird that they would be like, let's put Salma Hayek in this movie and then cover her up head to toe. It's like, okay.
And on the note of independent films, Chris just shared a link with me. I'm assuming he wants me to share with the chat.
Yeah, you should.
Called Spine of the Night.
I want to say thank you to Kung Fu Hot Dog for the comment. But I've been talking about this movie for a while. It's an indie feature animated film that is it's like a heavy metal comic book brought to life. It's incredibly gory. The trailer shows nothing, but it's just incredibly gory, weird, psychedelic, a bizarre experience. And what I'd love to see is what I just love to see is more of, I mean, I know we sit here and bitch about the latest DC, Marvel, Star Wars.
Tom, can you bring that up on screen? Spine of Night. You don't have to show the trailer, but like to get the title up on screen.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like I'm fortunate that I get to see, because of my work at Film Threat.
I got it.
I get to see a lot of small indie movies, and they're awesome. Right? Like it's like there are really, really amazing ones out there that are worth seeing. There's another one called The Beta Test that I would recommend, which is like the player.
But don't play the whole thing because I don't want a copyright strike here. But that looks.
But you get the idea with this.
It reminds me of Bakshi stuff. Like
yes, they use a rotoscoping technique, and the stuff you see in the trailer is great, but like when you actually see the movie, it just came out on VOD. So I bought it.
Nice.
But yeah, no, I just think that like if there was a way like to just take one indie movie a month and just everybody push that movie, that would begin to move the needle. I think there is good stuff being made, and on the indie level, a lot of stuff is very woke, but it has been from the beginning, right? Like I've been going to the Sundance Film Festival since the 90s, and it was always woke, right? But these are movies these small indie movies are not intended for broad audiences.
I'll share one that I watched last year, and I thought it was really well done. And that is the Kid Detective, and I really, really like that movie.
I love The Kid Detective. That was great. It's so funny. I just bought that last night.
It's so good, right? I love that.
So good and heartbreaking too.
I did a spoiler-free review of it on my channel, so if you guys want to check that out, so you can know what it's about.
Yeah, and Nina's channel is of course linked to in the description, as is Chris's and Scripts and every other guest we have had on here today.
Speaking of Chris, I have a button for that.
Chris recommends.
And actually,
there you had the recommendation, The Spine of Night, and
and he also recommended Laddie earlier as well. But no, that's something I've been talking to Chris about. I'd like to do, like even if it's just like a monthly thing, or once in a while, just pop in and talk about just whatever indie movies that are out there right now, just so you guys know. Because I think that's the biggest problem is that they don't get the push behind them, and right now with all these streaming services, it's difficult as hell to find anything. And I know what it's like to get into the Netflix, like, where you just the zone where you just like spend 3 hours looking for something to watch, and then you finally find something to watch and you fall asleep because you've been spending 3 hours to find something to watch. I've been there myself. So I think that's something that could really benefit the listeners.
Also, indie horror. There's so much good indie horror out there.
Yes.
Like Psycho Gorman. I don't know if you saw Psycho Gorman.
Yeah, I saw it. That's awesome.
Oh, so great. I think it's on Shudder. You can also find it. I mean, most of the stuff comes out on VOD. They get limited theatrical releases. I don't know, the theatrical market at this point for indie film is just advertising, but yeah, that keeps my sanity. The fact that I know that like, I can just watch some indie movie that's just way more fulfilling. And there's another one. This isn't a genre related movie, but I'll recommend it. It's from the guy who did the Florida Project, called Sean Baker is the filmmaker's name. He made a movie years ago called Tangerine, which was shot with the iPhone 5, oddly. So his new movie is called Red Rocket, and it's freaking bizarre. It's about this porn star named Mike Saber who moves to Texas and his misadventures. It's a comedy. It's freaking weird and it's awesome. It's called Red Rocket.
It looks hilarious.
Yeah, Red Rocket is great, and they're trying to push it for awards because Sean Baker was up for the Florida Project, which Willem Dafoe was in. But yeah, this movie's really good. I don't want to tell you anything about it except it's just so weird. It's also pretty graphic, sexually speaking, because it's made for adults. It's not like porn or anything, but there's a fair amount of nudity. So,
well, if it's about a porn star, it's understandable.
Right. But it's a comedy. It's the nudity is brief, but it's there just as a warning.
You know, I saw a fucked up indie movie, and it was from 2016, about 2 weeks ago, and I'm like, Chris probably knows what this movie is. The Greasy Strangler.
Yes. Oh, that movie's awesome.
Strangler?
The Greasy Strangler.
Oh.
I've seen that one.
Put that out.
It is. Well, you've seen it, Andre?
Yeah, I have.
Oh my god. I don't know what the fuck I watched. I was just like, this is like if Napoleon Dynamite, the people that made Napoleon Dynamite decided they were going to make a horror film.
Yeah, that's kind of what it seems like.
What the fuck? I love Napoleon Dynamite.
It is twisted as fuck. Somebody posted a clip of it on. I apologize if they're in the chat. Please speak up. But like, somebody posted on Twitter. I'm like, what the fuck is that? And they told me the name of the movie, and I went and saw the trailer, and I'm like, okay. And then of course that sent me down the rabbit hole because it was on IMDb TV. So I sat there one night watching the whole movie, and I'm just like, what the fuck? I swear I've never said what the fuck am I watching more times watching something in my entire. I wish I was videotaping my reaction to this because I was not prepared in the least for what the fucking movie
you should have.
was.
Yeah, you should have recorded.
Go
your
see
reaction.
the trailer, guys. This is one of those trailers where Chris will tell you, like, it gives away the whole movie almost.
You should be doing that when anyone is watching any trauma film. You should always be videotaping your reaction.
It is like a trauma film, that is for sure. I don't know who's behind this, but Chris obviously knows what I'm talking about, and I'm surprised Andre's seen it.
Well, I can always surprise. But speaking of, we have many more super chats to get through, so we're going to get back to the classics here. Next one is from Magician Sapphire, who says for $5, between dropping the ball with their films and popsicling Superman, DC just can't seem to get their crap together. P.S. You forgot my first super chat. Actually, we didn't forget. We've just done things a little bit out of order. This is always how it is. It's unfortunately there could be like some time lag in between you sending a super chat and us getting to it, and some that's sent after you can be taken before, and sometimes that happens. But as it happens, I can go.
I tried to do it in a semblance of order, but like,
I found it already. Magician Sapphire said for $5 earlier, fans, this was the first one, for $5 earlier. Happy New Year, guys. Disney continues to impress just how badly they continue.
We got that one.
Star Wars. Oh, we did get that one. Yeah, we did get that one. But then we didn't miss it. But anyway, so yeah, sorry that you thought we missed it. But thanks for.
Or maybe said this before we did get it. That's also possible.
That's also possible. That's also possible.
But I tried to do it in a semblance of order, and then of course my computer went and freaked out on me. So
yeah. So
how dare you, Tom?
Well, it's probably StreamYard, actually.
Exactly. And then we have Terry Lowe at Calgary Dreamer, who says for $5 Canadian, or maybe they'll Tootsie Cavill and Affleck and have them dress up in drag.
Oh, God.
Add a few wigs and padding in the right places, and voila. You know what? I bet a certain crowds of the entertainment media complex would freaking love that. But
that'll kill my sex drive for Cavill so fast. So I really hope they don't do that.
You know, that's a movie they can never remake now. Is Tootsie.
Tootsie, Ladybug.
Yeah. I love that,
Miss-
that there was a lady
Miss
reference to
Doubtfire.
Cobra Kai. Oh my god, I died when I heard that. I
When
don't want to
what?
spoil it. There was a Ladybugs reference in Cobra Kai, but I don't want to spoil it for nobody.
Oh.
Most people don't even know what that movie probably is. It was a Rodney Dangerfield movie from like what 1992, 3, something like that.
It was before.
Isn't he like a
it was with
soccer
Jonathan
coach?
Brandis.
Well,
And,
save the
Rodney
spoilers
Dangerfield.
till we do a roundtable on it. In
Yeah. What were you saying, Chris?
Isn't
That's
he like a
correct.
soccer coach or something?
Yes. Yeah.
I remember it vaguely.
And a
But that's
stepdad.
hilarious.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then Primer says for $5, Hollywood truly does run on fear. For instance, if anyone makes an abuse allegation against Kevin Spacey, their cars magically turn into firecrackers. Yeah, I've heard stuff like that before.
Yeah, I usually
Then
give
I'll delete.
them the other person's license plate number because I don't own a car.
And this says for $10, the rabid success of Arcane with its 2 female leads proves that you can make any show with any lead as long as you tell a good story and badass bar fights.
Well, yeah, this just goes along with what we've been saying all this time. There's always been diversity in storytelling. It's just that they didn't want to notice it because they want to pretend that they're the first ones to think of it. That's the big part of it.
Evil, crazy
It's-
people.
And then
Yeah, it's the angle of marketing. Is like, okay, how can we make this important? Well, we're the first ones to do this. Like, even if you aren't, that's the angle that they go for. And the other part too is that execution takes effort. So, and a lot of stuff we're seeing, again, the studios are mandating, they're trying to reduce the turnaround time for production because those are expensive. They don't want to spend 3 years making a movie. They want to try and get it done, under a year, so that they can get it out, hit that market hard, and get as much money as they can as quickly as possible because they don't like racking up these debts during a long production cycle.
yeah.
And STR Red Wolf says for $5.
And this is to my
what
response,
about
yeah.
root and birch beer, brewed the same but no alcohol?
Yeah, because I said if there's no alcohol in it because of the butter beer when they're talking about the butter beer.
Okay. And then Brian Barth had just a random question I had pop by here. Would Walt Disney have despised all of this? What happened to his parks and to his movies? Probably.
Yes.
I'm sure there are many creators that would have.
He would have been, but here's the thing: he would have been against Touchstone back in the day. He would have been
many
against a lot
things
of
he
this
would have
shit.
been against.
He would have never bought somebody else's property.
Nope, he
like
would have
that.
taken a public domain thing and made it his own.
Yeah.
No, I think the closest he ever came to that was Winnie the Pooh and Pan, and even then it was kind of still. Or was he even still alive when they did Pan?
Nah, he had passed before Winnie the Pooh.
I was gonna say, yeah, no, I was just thinking of that. Yeah, you're right, because that was way after his time.
Because that's what Disney did, is that he took public domain stories and then he did them in Disney film fashion because that was easier.
Yeah. And Stephanie Janishek, Smuggler's Cantina, said for $4.99 because Kathleen Kennedy didn't want that. And Bob Iger ran with her suggestions because they're stupid.
Well, at the time, I could understand Bob doing that, right? Like, we got to remember, a lot of that stuff was done before we realized what we had gotten ourselves into. Because on paper, Kathleen Kennedy made sense.
Yeah, you could think that. And the brightest today says for another $1.99. I say again, so no laser tag then.
Yeah, no laser tag at the cruise ship thingy.
Nope.
And Trav101 wonders for £5. What is your take on J.K. Rowling being absent from the HBO Max Harry Potter special?
I thought she was in it.
Ungrateful people who wouldn't have careers without her.
I thought she was in it, so I guess I heard mixed thing. But I don't really
she
give a
wasn't.
shit.
They
No,
left
she
her out of
wasn't.
it.
They banned her.
Well, then more of the reason to ban Harry Potter.
Yeah, I guess so.
I never liked this shit in the first place.
Not really. I mean, I would never say that that's a thing. I think
like,
that
don't ban Harry Potter because that's banning her work, but you ban the people.
Yeah,
like, for instance, you ban that one special.
Don't watch
That's what
the
you do.
special.
Yeah.
No, I heard that she's in it. She actually is in
That's
it.
what I thought too.
That was
There was-
misreported.
there was
Or maybe-
something else that they canceled her from. It was
The
like the
most
20th
influential person
anniversary
list.
thing.
No, there's a magazine list that they got rid of because she was gaining on to be the winner of it.
That was the
That's
Guardian
right.
poll.
Yeah, it was a poll, and then they the result
And
was
they pulled it.
won, and then they pulled it. But yeah, no, I think she, in a way, I feel like she kind of brought a lot of this on herself by retconning so much of Harry Potter after the fact.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, by the way, who cares if Gandalf is gay, right? But the fact that she had to like add that as something sort of a retcon after the fact, I think she kind of brought all this attention on herself and kind of and made enemies with a certain group of people that, you know, want to not see her, they want to destroy her legacy. But then that's sort of the role of many people of that type. They want to destroy legacies, right?
Basically, she gave them a finger, and then they wanted the hand.
Right, that's it. So
See, this is what this person is.
What she should have given them the finger.
I guess
Right.
it's just old interview footage, which I still think is stupid. It's like, if you're not going to have her in there, just don't have her in there, period.
No, I saw a trailer. Didn't a trailer just hit and it was mentioned that she is in it? That was debunked. So you know what? I guess we can all watch the special and we'll find out.
I don't
Yeah.
care.
I wasn't watching it anyway, so you guys tell me.
Yeah, exactly. My point.
I wasn't watching it anyway either. I mean, I agree with you though, Chris. I think she did bring this up like on herself, and then, but you know what though, like. The one thing I can say about JK is that she has fuck you money and she's saying fuck you. And I respect that. I'm good with her standing her ground and saying what she has to say. And clearly she's not as unpopular as they want to make her out to be. She is very extremely popular. And they just want to, like, there's just like a small minority of people trying to make it so that, like, you know, she's like a nothing burger now. And
like
that's
the
not
Chappelle
true.
thing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
When you look at I just wonder if normies even know that this is a thing, because look at the tremendous success of the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, which is from where I sit, one of the best immersive theme parks ever.
Yeah.
From the way that, you know, people who work the retail shops or restaurants are dressed, to the food choices, to the way that their gift shops and the wand, where you go and pick your wand, they make it a whole ceremony, to just the fact that music is everywhere, even in the bathroom. You go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
It's so great. So
my husband hates Harry Potter and he loves Harry Potter Land. Like every time we go there, he's like, this is amazing.
And when we said Gandalf, I think we meant Dumbledore. I don't remember who said that.
Yeah.
we meant Dumbledore. I said Gandalf? Oh my God, I'm such an idiot.
It was probably just a Freudian slip because of Ian McKellen playing Gandalf, but yeah.
What I said, Gandalf might be gay.
Dumbledore kind of looking a bit like him in some angles.
That doesn't help either.
Yeah. Sorry. What did I say? Dumbledore. Oh my God, I'm an idiot.
No. You know, like those meme pictures of like how you insult multiple fan bases at once.
Oh, that's good.
Somebody's gonna clip that.
Star Wars is my favorite.
And you have like the picture of Patrick Stewart and the quote, "Use the Force, Luke," from Gandalf. That's
well, we know that the new Lord of the Rings is going to come out and it's going to be awful by all accounts.
Of course, it's going to be terrible.
Most expensive garbage ever made.
Here's the thing. I think it's going to take years for this stuff to go away. I think it was Script Doctor, you mentioned 2024. I think by then this stuff will have gone away, because I think a lot of it was reaction to 2016.
Yep.
And a lot of people not getting what they wanted or what they thought.
But Chris, he's gonna run again. So
that's true.
What's that gonna do? Like reset everything over again? Like, I mean, there's always gonna be a Republican running at some point. Like, it's not, you know, this is getting ridiculous.
Well, I just think that it's Hollywood is in many periods been out of touch with the public, but whenever you see like a huge success like Spider-Man, that's when they hit it. You know, that was such a broad appeal and a satisfying experience. I saw it 3 times in the theater. I may see it again before it's out of theaters. Like,
I really want to see it again.
I haven't felt.
You know how many times I've seen it in the theater? Take a guess.
0, because it's not out where you are yet.
That is indeed correct.
Oh no! Sorry, Andre.
Yeah, no, I was supposed to see it on the 14th of December, and then they canceled it like hours before the premiere.
Well, that sucks.
Yeah. I love that Spider-Man proved my point of what I was saying a while ago. And I even predicted that Spider-Man could be that movie. And that's what I was saying, was that there's just, the public is waiting for a movie. It's not so much that I think that so many people are scared to go to the theater. It's just that there's nothing but garbage. And when you have the option to see most of it on the day and date and streaming, of course people are going to sit at home and watch it.
Yeah, but
And
it's also Spider-Man.
that's
Like
the thing, and that's what I said is like we need something like that to get people's butts out of their houses and into the seats. And looking at the biggest bombs of the year, most of them were movies that were day and date streaming. I don't think that's a coincidence at all.
And also like ultra woke Eternals that no one cares about. It's just people are sick of this. No one even knew who those heroes were.
West Side Story was the biggest flop of the year.
Well,
but then you have like King Richard, which is also on streaming at the same time. You have The Last Duel, which had a limited window. You had Many Saints of New York, which was on the streaming at the same time. You had Dear Evan Hansen. You had Reminiscence.
King Richard
also
actually
streaming at the same time.
Yeah, the streaming at the same time. The streaming at the same time. I think that experiment, we have the data. It doesn't.
It's not working.
7 out of these 10 films were all on streaming at the same time or had a very short window.
It also just makes it so much less special, right?
Yeah.
The movie is less special. It's less. I would have seen Matrix in the theaters, and I actually was like, I've got the AMC A-list. I can just like book a ticket, whatever. I'll go see it. And I didn't because I saw like one, it's too freaking long. It's another one of those like 2.5 hour and doesn't need to be. Right. That's like so many movies these days. But it's also, I just like saw the reaction to it because I had some friends who had seen it a couple days before. And I just said, I'll just watch it on HBO Max. And it was even worse than I thought it would be.
Well, the thing is you need to give people FOMO. That's why they would go to movies is like, they would have the fear of missing out. And like, they wanted to know and they wanted to be in the know
for so long, right? Like, and I'm not surprised it's a Marvel film that did it. But no, I think you're right, Nina. It has more to do with that. A, it's Spider-Man. B, they gave the fans something they've wanted for a while.
Like 20 years. Like, dude, everybody wanted to see Tobey Maguire back.
Like, so not only that, you've got all the other incentives there too with it. I was hoping Ghostbusters was going to be that movie, but I think they did a very poor job of advertising that film. And you're right, Nina. It might have done better had they had more of the original cast in it more often.
Well, they should have introduced them earlier. That's what was interesting about like the, Spider-Man, right? The conceit was we're going to see all the Spider-Man, but they're not just in the movie and like some cameo at the end. They're part of the movie.
Well, it's not just the Spider-Man. It's also, Willem Dafoe and all the other. I don't want to get into too much in case there's like 2 people in the chat who haven't seen it yet. But,
right. But it's
honestly, at this point, my countrymen, it's all lost anyway. Like the whole movie is ruined.
Well, and the movie's just still going and going. But Ghostbusters actually did something nuts over the past couple weeks here. It's actually gained some ground, even though it's lost a shit ton of theaters. So I think word of mouth is helping that film too. It actually went up 17%.
Well, it's just interesting to see the success of Spider-Man basically destroy the narrative that people are afraid to go to theaters.
I think Paul Feig actually helped with that too, to be honest with you. I think Paul Feig bitching like a little baby let people know what this movie was. I think there's a lot of normies who weren't aware of it.
Right.
Moving on with the super chats, though 52 movies a year says for $4.99. Disney treats Star Wars like they're trying to make a cheap copy of something that they don't own.
We got this one already.
Well, then maybe we are starting to get back to the point where we are.
What's the next one?
Apart from, I'm looking for it right now, and now I'm the one that has to. Oh, here we go.
Otherwise, then we got this one too. Yep.
Okay, well, brilliant.
And then this should be our next one is Radio Man with John Ridley, Superman author, won an Oscar for 12 Years a Slave. Oh, that explains it. Notice the connection between Hollywood and perverse sexual content. Boycott it all. You know what? I saw 12 Years a Slave. Only thing I remember from that movie is the scene you're pretty much alluding to right there. That tells you how much that movie had an impact on me. Yeah. And nobody else has anything to say about it?
No. Slave was
exactly.
I'm
Woke your tongue deluxe. So let's just move on. You got the next one?
No, I'm scrolling, so just give me a second. I don't want to lose any either. Mecha J says, at this point, with everything that's happened, do you think Star Wars will ever tell more unique, good stories again? Or has Disney completely wasted any potential with the franchise it has? Well, that's a good question. Let's start with you, Chris.
I think Star Wars is dead. I think Star Wars is and if they do some market research on this, I think they're going to find that people are more turned off than they would think. I think more and more people are becoming aware of how Gina Carano was treated, even though her character was one of the most popular, side characters in The Mandalorian. And I just Boba Fett came out, and did you notice that people didn't really care all that much? I mean, some people had videos talking about it. It barely trended on social media. I didn't.
The interest is dead, exactly as you're saying.
Yeah, the interest. I mean, I watched the beginning of it, and I just lost interest. I didn't finish watching it. It's like, to me, what they're doing is they're taking the coolest thing about Boba Fett and they're ruining it, which the coolest thing about Boba Fett always, and this goes back to the animated version of Boba Fett in the Star Wars Holiday Special, is he was mysterious. Yep. We didn't know who he was. We didn't know his background. He was like the man with no name, right? Like we didn't know anything about him. So what you do is you have over-explained this character. It's sort of like, things are shitty when it's just when going to comics, when they introduce a super dog or like Batmite, or you know what I mean? It's like the Batman family. It's like you've got Batgirl, Batwoman, Bat this, and it's just like when you're going down that route, you've run out of ideas. And I feel like that's what they've done with Star Wars. Is just like they've taken these beloved characters that just had, Boba Fett had 4 minutes of screen time in all the Star Wars movies, right? Or at least in the original trilogy. Sorry,
he had more screen time in the holiday special than he did in the two movies he featured.
Exactly. So, but the point is you're taking the thing that was cool about the character and you're just ruining it. I mean, the prequels, it was actually kind of a cool origin, right? That this is the seed of all of the stormtroopers and they're all clones. That was really interesting. And you saw his motivation for now becoming a ruthless bounty hunter, the death of his father, but even that, I don't know, do we need do we need the Boba Fett series is what I'm saying. And I know they announced a bunch of stuff, and it's so funny that they announced this stuff and then it just goes away. I think part of it is they announce it to see if there'll be enthusiasm.
It's market research. Yeah.
It's in a way, yes, it's a little bit of market research because, you could go back to, God, I'd love to find the old, Kevin Feige get up and give a speech and we're going to make the Inhumans and this, and then it doesn't happen. And then DC gets up and said, and they do the release dates. Cyborg, the movie's coming out here. And then this movie, they do all these things and then they don't happen. And Kathleen Kennedy recently, was Outlaws of the Old Republic. Was that it? Or
there was Rangers of the New Republic.
Rangers of the New Republic that Gina Carano was going to star in.
Nope, she wasn't going to star in that.
She wasn't going to star in that.
No, she was going to be featured in that. She was going to be carrying that over. She was going to be the draw in, but that was going to be mostly the Asian pilot from Kim's Convenience was going to be in that. And I heard that directly from him because I saw him over the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
And he hasn't heard anything else since. It was going to be basically 8 episodes, and a few of them would have Gina Carano in it, but it was just going to be kind of like how when they did the Frasier spinoff, they would have a character from Cheers come in to sort of shepherd the audience over onto that type of thing. That was the idea that was being talked around, but the fans assumed that it was going to be a Gina Carano's thing, and I think because of that, that's why we're not getting any more movement onto it.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't sound like it's going to happen.
Because again,
to support that,
she's a marshal. That's
yeah. To support that,
do a Gina Carano show of Marshal Dune when you have Cassian Andor, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Ahsoka. I mean, come on, they're putting the title characters in the name of the show. You know who it's going to be. You got Cara Dune, an interesting Alderaan character who's got a little bit of mystery to her and is going on a redemption arc, and you're not going to advertise this new show with her at the top of it. Come on, Disney has a pattern, and that's clearly not what's going on here. So yeah,
no, it's supported by later on we heard that show was actually supposed to be the bridge to her show, not her show.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And then moving on with slightly newer. So now I'm moving from the very newest, and then Tom can go in the other direction. You have to say the name, Tom.
Thunderheart.
That's for $5 Canadian. I loved Up in the Air. My favorite was J.K. Simmons, according to Reitman, actually pulled out his real kids' photos and then just improved his performance. Cool.
Wow,
And
that's cool.
Sounds like something he'd do.
Warwolf says the last film I saw that wasn't woke is Godzilla vs. Kong. And before that, Sonic the Hedgehog. I can't wait for part 2 of that. And Tom, can you move on to the next super chat from your end?
Sure. Mecha J says,
Oops, sorry. One more time.
At this point, everything has happened. Do you think Star Wars can even...
We got this one,
got
so
one.
it's, after that.
Gladiator says, why was Tom kicked off Friday Night Tights? You were my favorite regular. Here's some money. I'm never, and as far as I know, I haven't been kicked off.
Yeah, no, that's really pushing it.
Your guess is as good as mine on that. I just, I haven't been asked back in a while, and I'm sure they will when they have a reason to. Just let them know in the comments you miss me.
Yeah, exactly. No, it was a very big panel, and they're streamlining a little bit. That's all there is to it. And Brado Jacko says for $5, Ghostbusters Afterlife was dull, woke, and lame, with original cast thrown in for 2 seconds. Its high praise isn't warranted at all. Spider-Man No Way Home was good. I think this is a point of view that Nina might agree with.
Yeah, that was that was definitely my take as well. I didn't like it. I didn't think it was dull and woke quite. I just didn't. I wanted more of the original Ghostbusters. That was basically my only thing, and I didn't like the dad storyline. I just didn't. I didn't agree with it.
And Talents of Water wonders for $2. Any of you familiar with the show Samurai Jack? Now, Samurai Jack. Sorry, I'm familiar with its existence, but that's all.
I've seen several episodes, like a lot of episodes, and I used to love it as a kid. It's a great show.
Fantastic. Yeah, that show's great.
Yep. Yep, it's great. There you have it. Internet user wonders for $10, or says for $10. Thank you all. Been looking for intelligent discussion about the growing woke threat. When you all have time, John McWhirter and Ayan Hirsi Ali both have a lot of good takes on their podcasts as well. Oh yeah, I have no doubt about that. So everyone that wants some more tips, you heard the names there. Well worth checking out. Tom, you got the next one in your end?
I think we're caught up, unless somebody thinks we missed theirs.
Let us.
I'm where you're at now, so.
Yeah, exactly. So. Unless some new ones have come in recently.
I see one from 200 Watt Studios, like a couple minutes ago, but that was it. Did you guys get that? John Rithy has a funny.
I think we got the. Okay. No, but here's one. 8 High Dragon Stars says for $10. Yes. They're trying to make new content. So they don't have to pay legacy. They're trying to bring in new fans and get rid of the old. But isn't it better to get $1 from 10,000 fans than 10 from 100? Oh, yeah, but here's the thing. You have someone else coming in that are going to pay for the difference. Sometimes you have that.
Yeah, it's all about trying to squeeze blood from a stone.
Yeah. Exactly. And then we have one more after that, very recent one. A comment on me being familiar with the existence of Samurai Jack, but no more. Infinite Wanderer says for $5. Andre, you need to see Samurai Jack. It nails minimalist storytelling so good that you don't need to understand the words to tell what's going on. Oh, well, that's cool. I like that. I like storytelling that can be told in words only. And 200 Watt Studio says we missed his second super chat. Okay, well then I just have to go straight through the repository again here and see what we missed. First one was he said John Ridley has a fanny pack fetish. Hiyo. Oh yeah, that's one. Yeah, that would be the one.
Sorry about that.
Would be the one. Yeah, sorry about that. With that, then, I do believe that we are caught up.
I think we do have one more member chat here as well. Bashy Washy, and actually we got. Do we get the one from Darth? Yeah, we got the one from Darth Plato. Bashy Washy though says, "Happy New Year, panel chat and mod nighters. Best wishes for all and high hope for channel for 2020 part 2. Can't wait to see which IP character is going to get screwed up this year." Well, we have a few guesses, but yeah. So with that, was there anything else we had to touch on, Andre, or did you want to wrap things up?
We just have to give a reminder that on Wednesday we have Mikey Sutton, and we will be doing a whole DC extravaganza. Mikey won't be here from the beginning of the show. He'll join us a little bit later. So then we have time to go through everything DC, past movies, favorite movies, least favorite movies, trends, the skill and talent of their executives, and everything that goes with that. That's on Wednesday. We have a video that will be dropping certainly in the next couple of hours, which is about Deadpool and how he'll be joining the MCU. So be sure to check the back for that. I don't think there will be any toxic femininity tonight because there's still some on vacation. So it looks like it will be next week that the show is back on.
Yeah, probably next week.
Nina wants to run it. Yeah, definitely next week. But I think that's still vacation mode this week.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I'd enjoy it being Nina, myself, and maybe Chris could show up or something like that, but that kind of defeats the purpose of calling it toxic femininity then.
Yeah, we need more females, toxic females on this
More
show.
female influence, yes.
You aren't on vacation.
Yeah, Lorena's on vacation. Mandy's doing her mom stuff and family stuff, and it's still the holiday season, so it's all good.
Maybe I'll go yell at some parked cars tonight.
There you go.
On comics, if that entices anybody.
Or
That's a great panel.
Maybe I can start recording the next video, the huge one. So we can get started on that, and everyone is going to like that because that is part 2 of our He-Man and Masters of the Universe franchise-spanning retrospective.
Andre's like, so you got the night off, huh, Tom? No, you don't. No.
He does this to me every time. And then,
oh my god!
200 Watt Studios asks Nina, "Can we get a little turtle phone for Superman in jail?"
What the? Oh my god! 200 Watt Studios, sure. There you
go. You can't just do it.
All right.
I'm not doing it again. That's all you get.
The best one though was Owen Wilson turtle. Wow.
Oh my god. Oh my gosh.
And then we had a couple more super chats come in here. One from Mecha J says, "Andre, you always need to check out the show Primal on Adult Swim. It's made by creator Samurai Jack." Yeah.
Yes, I know. I'm very well aware of it. That it's the same guy. I forget his Gendy Tartakovsky. Very well aware of that. And that's a very good reason to check out Samurai Jack because I am a big fan of Primal.
And according to Warwolf, we missed a few more super chats and a super sticker. So you might want to go back and look.
I love the idea for nominating Chrissy Mayer for Toxic.
There's only one problem with that is that she usually streams around the same time, but because I know that's been the only problem trying to get her back on. But
yeah, she's super busy.
But you never know. I mean, maybe if we can get a hold of her in the last minute, we could do something tonight. But I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to put her on the spot and pressure her like that. So yeah. I think we're just going to take tonight off, and we'll see how it goes from there. But we do need to have her back again for sure.
I'll definitely talk to her. I'm going to hit her up and see if maybe she can come by next Monday or something like that.
That'd be awesome.
It'd be really fun.
Yeah, I asked her a while ago, but it's been a while since I've talked to her. But yeah, Jesus Davila says video game sends it a super sticker with a video game controller with a thumbs up that says "good game." And did you happen to find any of the other super chats we may have missed, Andre?
Well, we've actually gotten all the super chats but we're missing a super sticker that I'm looking. Oh, there we go. Jesus Davida says sends a $2
That's the one I just read.
super sticker. So yes, and with that, then in theory we should be fully caught up, and if we're not, then let us know now. But I think we are.
I don't see anything else.
Yeah.
And then we got a thumbs up from somewhere, but I think that was earlier. Did we miss some from? Oh, she's talking about. Okay, gotcha. Never mind. I know what 6 means there. Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't think she was talking about any missed super chats.
She's talking about Toxic Femme. Yeah. With that, I think we are caught up. I'm not seeing anybody saying we missed any more, but we did get one from Mecha J, just in case. Now's the time to let us know. Mecha J says, fun fact, the creator of Samurai Jack and Primal, Genndy Tartakovsky, also made the 2003 Star Wars Clone Wars miniseries. I was about to say that.
Yep. And he didn't make a Popeye movie that he should have made, hadn't Sony not been buttholes at the time.
I had never even heard of Primal till right now.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Oh.
It's an excellent series. It's like, since I like all things Conan and stuff, I'm going to like
Primal, it looks right up your alley.
Series. Yeah. It's like a caveman running around with his pet dinosaur.
That sounds great.
It's badass. It's really badass.
And then Bredo Jacko says, have you seen Netflix's Maniac? Amazing writing. I'm aware of it, but no, I haven't seen it.
I've seen it. It was good.
Yeah, I've got it queued
aware of it.
So I'll be checking it out soon.
Isn't that the one that has Jonah Hill in it or whatever?
Yeah. It was a mini series. It was really good. I quite
got a great
enjoyed
soundtrack. I know that.
I quite enjoyed it. I'm actually watching. Well, I watched the new one on Netflix. That was really good. It's the new Korean sci-fi drama, The Silent Sea. That was really, really good. Highly recommend it. I just started watching another one on Netflix. I don't know how that's going to go, but it's a British drama mystery, and that one's really good. I forget what it's called though. Shoot. I'll tell you in 2 seconds. I don't know. I forget it. I forget what it's called. Sorry. But it just dropped like the other day. But yeah. But I definitely recommend The Silent Sea. It's really good.
Excellent. All right, Tom, do we have any more member chats? Or
I think we're all caught up on the member chats as well. I think Vashy Washy was the last one.
Eva just sent in one. $2.
Okay, we got another super chat from EVA Unit who says Trekkies for Orville, Get Woke, Grow Broke, Midnight's Edge, Toxic Femininity. Yeah, Orville will be starting.
Yeah, the Orville. Woo. Can't wait for the new season. That's going to be great.
Like March or May. I can't remember which.
I think it's May.
And Horse Red for his power is trooping off to Mr. Age's stream. Oh, yeah, we've been going that long. Yes.
Oh, tell Mr. H we said hello.
Streaming now to tell him we say hi, and everyone that wants to go there and say hi, tell him Midnight's Edge sent you.
Yeah, Midnight's Edge raid.
Yeah. Indeed. And Big Daddy MRI sent us a $19.99 super sticker. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Big Daddy.
Much appreciated.
Very much so. All right. So with that, I think we're going to wrap things up here. And I want to thank everybody so much for being here today and making this a very successful show. Chris, thank you so much for being here, man. It was unsuspected, but it's always a blast to get to hang out with you. I want to be like you when I grow up.
Thank you. And also just like always great to hang out with you, Tom and Andre and Script Doctor and just thank you. And Nina, great to, be on a long stream with you. I mean, I've seen you pop up on other shows that I watch. So really a pleasure to get to know you better. So thanks.
You too, Chris. It's been a pleasure.
Cool.
And of course, check out Film Threat and check out Nina's channel, check out Culture's channel, check out Script Doctor's channel.
Links for all are already in the description.
Drunk 3PO, shout out to Drunk 3PO.
As well. Yes, thank you so much for stopping in, Drunk.
We Park Hoppin'.
And yes, check out Park Hoppin' as well. And I think we got them all.
That's it.
Perfect. Excellent. Well, that's a wrap then. Yeah, everyone have a continued happy new year. And remember, Wednesday, Mikey Sutton, DC Scoops galore. Chris, if you have the opportunity to be here from early, you'd be most welcome. I think that's going to be a blast.
Hit me up. My schedule's weird lately, but I'm sitting there and like watching you guys with Junk 3PO, and it's like, why don't I just come on?
Yeah, we're both in the chat.
Well, I do know that you and I have talked in private a little bit about, like, you said your schedule would open up a little bit more once we get past the start of the year, and here we are. So hopefully you'll be popping in a lot more. I appreciate it, man.
And Six also says Nina needs to be on Midnight's Edge more often, not just toxic femininity. Well, you need to wake up in the morning. Not you, Tom, Nina, but
she has those late night shows she used to do too. Are you still doing a lot of the late night streams like you used to, or no?
Not so much anymore. No, my schedule is just so full now. So
right. But you can catch Nina all over the place. She's on like what is it, Real BBC and a few other places now. I've seen you pop up quite often. So
I'm full panelist now for the Real BBC, which is huge. So you can catch me tomorrow on there on Heel versus Babyface channel.
Yes, indeed. So
awesome.
Check that out.
So go tell Mr. H we said hello. Yeah,
head over to Mr. H, tell him we said hi, and we'll be seeing you on Wednesday. And before then, we have another video that will be dropping in the next couple of hours here to compensate for there not being a toxic femininity tonight. But the ladies will be back in force next Monday.
Yeah.
With that, check out all the guests' channels and pages, which are linked to in the description. And thank you all for watching. Be seeing you soon.
And I will say something about the video later. I heard a similar thing that we heard in the scoop that we drop later. So stay tuned for that.
Perfect.
Take care, everybody. And here's some koalas in the rain.
Koalas in the rain. Koalas in the rain. No fucks given. Koalas in the rain.